forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois.
I know all of that, Mama.
Then know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world: to be allowed to be. And I learned through the blood of this people that black isn't beautiful. It isn't ugly. It isn't kinky hair. It isn't straight hair. Black is just black. It broke my heart when you changed your name. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all. Who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
It comes as a great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover that the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you.
On the other hand, we are the only true inheritors of the place called America.
That's right. That's right. It belongs to us.
Because we're still outside of it.
It belongs to us, and there's nobody can do anything about that.
And we will get it. If we continue to move. I think it's a guilt.
In ways that one can't quite see yet. We already have it. That's one of the reasons for the panic.
We have to effect it.
Yes.
And we have to know it, and we have to make sure that everybody else...
We have to change it.
Our destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here.
Mr. Muhammad teaches us that Negro is a term that was applied to us during slavery by the slave master. And right today, it's a term that is used only to point out the descendant of slaves. It's never used for black people, period. Africans can come to this country. They aren't called Negroes. And if they are called Negroes, they resent it. So if Negro meant black, as we've been taught, it would be a term that would be applicable to or pliable to everyone. But he says that it is something that means a slave, or something who is, it means something that has been left out of society, politically, economically, educationally, and otherwise.
You don't think of it as an anthropological term?
Definitely. It's not an anthropological term. It's a slave term. And it was a term that was invented in America and was used by the slave makers, slave traders, and slave masters, and attached to the property or the chattel or merchandise that our people represented in that particular day.
And by the way, we're not black. How about that? We're not black. We're Indian. Yeah. We're Native American. Yeah. How many of y'all grandmothers got Indian in your family?
Yeah, I'm Period. I'm Indian.
Wait a second, but what happened to the Indians? We black. Show me black on the planet. Why you stop recording?
He knows the fucking shit.
Why you sound crazy? Nah, because you think I sound crazy.
No, you don't sound like that. I'm still recording. You're talking truth. You're talking truth.
We're not black. Race was made up.
You're talking truth.
Race was made up.
Yeah, with the brown eyes.
Show me black. Show me black on the planet. Show me black. Everybody else, they European, they Australian, they Chinese, they Japanese. Show me black on the planet. We marginalized as entertainers.
Crazy because he's black.
Nick, what you care about crazy?
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Y'all welcome in. Like the video, please, if you haven't already, please. And look, before I could even look, my edge is coming up. See? That's why I be putting that thing on my head. That's why I be wrapping my head up. and I got the girls thinking I ain't got no edges and whatnot, is real hair, no trick. Girl, bye. Anyway, how y'all doing? Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Welcome. That was Scotty talking, Shamice. That was her. Welcome on in. What's going on, Zach? What's going on, everybody in the building? Shout out to my mom. Shout out to everybody here. We're going to get into some things, okay? We're going to talk about our Black leaders and basically how we got played. You know what I'm saying? Because that's basically what happened. And it's still happening to this day, okay? I need everybody to do me a favor and like the video first and foremost, and then we're going to get right into it, okay? We're going to get right into it because I am of the belief that these things need to be talked about. Now, I was going back and forth. I was going to go over the Trail of Tears. I was going to go over a whole bunch of stuff. I am going to touch on urban renewal. I am going to touch on us as who we are and how we were prior to the civil rights movement. Because see, it's been taught and pushed to us through school. I was even going to go over school with Rockefeller and how he came up with the whole institution of school to create sheep and workers. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, you know what? Let me today for this live, let me stick to this, and then we can come back to those things. So schools, where was I going with the schools? Oh, we've been pushed and taught through school that everything we've learned about our past and our leaders of the past have been, oh my God, they've completely worked for you. They were all on your side. This is for you to gain independence and gain citizenship and gain freedom and Cap. They were government agents. Yep. Most of them, not all of them. Most of them were government agents. Now, we've already went over Martin Luther King, but we're going to touch on him a little bit more. You feel what I'm saying? Got to touch on him a little bit more. Oh, we got a super chat. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for the super chat. She says, thank you, Vu. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. I'm going to play the Make It Rain music. I got some on there now. We might as well run it down now. I make it rain. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You guys, make sure you like the video on in. We got our thinking caps on. Y'all, I remember the other day when I was saying hocus pocus, dollhouse focus. Somebody said voodoo over there putting a spell on us. Why y'all like this? I don't understand. But we already touched on Martin Luther King, like I said, in his op ways. He did try to make it right toward the end, but ultimately he did some irreversible things. Kanye is another one. A lot of these people who speak on us and speak for us, they've done some really horrible, irreversible things. And we need to get into those things because we need to understand why we're here today, okay? We need to understand why we're here right now. So we've already discovered about Mike. Jesse Jackson was another one. The whole Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Let's get into that first. The whole Southern Christian Leadership Conference. If you guys are unfamiliar with the SCLC, that is the group that Martin Luther King them had. And they basically is the reason why you had the whole movement of what was happening with desegregation, civil rights. It was them. These are a bunch of older people who utilize the children and the youth in order to push their agenda. Now, most people on the surface, like I did in the past, I was just like, oh, what's going on in Philly? Somebody say I'm praying for Philadelphia. What's going on? What's going on in Philly? What happened? Let me know, y'all. What's going on in Philly? Did I miss something? Maybe I missed something. Oh, he playing. Y'all play too much. Look at Philly talking about don't start that mess today. Girl, Esther said I studied that last semester. What you studied, Fat? Let's get into it. Southern Christian Leadership. This was the older group. This was the older group that basically is the godfathers of the media. Of the whole situation, the civil rights movement. Let me also say this. We exposed it on my last Martin Luther King video that these people were bought and paid for. Yes. They were bought and paid for by who? None other than the American government. They say, I didn't say it. They say their job was to come out and gain rights, equal rights for the Negroes. Their jobs was to calm the Negroes down. We've already talked about it. That NAACP, we've already ran through it, okay? But I want to show you some behind the scenes teas and tings that you may not be familiar with. Now, let's start with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. All right, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. They work directly for the President Lyndon B. Johnson, the HMO. That was their boss. That's who they reported to. Mike always made calls back to Lyndon B. Johnson. That was how he rolled, okay? It says, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference is a civil rights organization founded in 1957 as an offshoot of the Montgomery Improvement Association, or the MIA, which successfully staged a 381-day boycott of the Montgomery, Alabama segregated bus system. Martin Luther King, Bayard Rustin, Ralph Abernathy, and Fred Shuttlesworth and others founded SCLC in order to have a regional organization that could better coordinate civil rights protest activities across the South. Okay? All right. Sorry, y'all. The SCLC was founded in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Ebenezer Baptist Church and advocated confrontation of segregation through civil dissent. It says the direct action included boycotts, marches, and other forms of nonviolent protest, and was considered controversial by many in the Black community who felt that the segregation should be challenged in the courts. That is true. That is fact. Let me tell y'all something. Back then, even the other blacks, all the so-called other blacks were saying, yo, y'all marching and doing all of this stuff for your little yin, and that's cool. But that needs to be settled down at the courthouse. What does that remind you of today? Reparations. It literally points to reparations today. They always marching their behinds down there with Tyreek to the White House or wherever they be marching to, talking about we want reparations. That got to be handled in the courthouse, Fefe. And they're basically saying the same thing that I'm saying back then. They were saying, all right, we get it. Y'all doing y'all little protests. It's cute. But we're not going to get any real justice unless y'all handle it through the courthouse. You'd be hard-pressed to believe that a college-educated Martin Luther King didn't think that as well. But that was not his agenda. His agenda was not to actually gain economic freedoms at first. It was simply to do what he was paid to do. Thank you, Belinda, for the super chat. Love you too. Oh, love you, boo. Thank you. Love you too, boo. Oh, you sent another super sticker. We gotta make it rain, fat. I make it rain. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes. Shout out, man. What's up? Shout out. Y'all coming in. If you're just coming in, please like the video. Please like the video. Please like the video. So basically what these people were saying is y'all doing all of this other stuff. We need to get this handled in the courthouse, okay? Which makes all the sense in the world. But again, it was never really the true aim and definition. And I'm not saying everybody was on board with it or knew about the plan, but I feel like the ones who should know about it. They do the same thing in sports. Sports is rigged, not because everybody's in on it. Everybody's not in on it. They just need a few, the main characters to be in on it. And they know how to switch and rig the numbers and all types of stuff. It's all tied up in Vegas. Same thing happened during here. So it says, it caused controversial by many in the Black community who felt that segregation should be challenged in the courthouse. The SCLC's leadership, most of whom were ministers, red flag, also believed that churches should be involved in political activism and held many of their meetings at Black churches, which became important symbols in the battle for civil rights. Why is this important? If y'all believe that Black should be in politics or Black leaders should be into politics, why are you mixing church and state? That's done on purpose as well, mixing the church and state. Even though the Constitution says you're not supposed to do it, they doing it. It's been done, not just by Blacks, by all these folk coming down here. That's why in Louisiana we have parishes, parishioners. You get it? Okay, the organization quickly moved to the forefront of the civil rights movement alongside several other major civil rights groups collectively known as the Big Five: the National Association for Advancement of Colored People, which is the NAACP, the National Urban League, the NUL, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, this SNCC, which is other known as SNCC. Now, let me back it up. I'm going to tell you who these people is. NAACP, y'all know who that is. That's Thurgood Marshall and his boys, right? The National Urban League, I forgot who was in the National Urban League. I forgot. Put it down in the comments. The SNCC was Stokely Carmichael. SNCC was Stokely Carmichael. Remember the Trinidadian who come by way of New York, raised with a whole bunch of clear Italians, and then he just found his way down to the South fighting for Southern issues, right? And then also Congress of Racial Equality. From the beginning, SCLC focused its efforts on citizenship, schools, and efforts to desegregate individual cities such as Albany, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, and St. Augustine, Florida. Now, let me ask y'all a question. Let me ask y'all a serious question. Why was the main objective to desegregate? This is extremely important. I understood under Jim Crow, we suffered a whole bunch of stuff from the KKK, a lot of lynching, a lot of persecution, sundown towns, which still exist today. But for the most part, unless they were coming in to take over stuff like they did during urban renewal, or coming over to take over stuff like they did with Black Wall Street and all these major towns, Lake Lanier over there, unless they were coming to do all of that, them people, it really, I ain't gonna say it wasn't that, that's wrong to say it wasn't that bad, because it was bad. But the segregated piece kept us a bit more safe. Does that make sense? It was this need and want to desegregate, to integrate, which bothers me. Because why? I would rather, instead of, put yourself in those shoes back then. If you suffering from racial inequality, people abusing you, unaliving you, people doing all of these horrible things, instead of integrating with the people who are abusing you and unaliving you, shouldn't you be down at the courthouse saying, hey, stop these people. Let's put up some legislation to make sure this does not happen again? That's just me. I'm not going down to the courthouse. I'm not going march to go sit with these folk. These folk don't like me. I never understood why Black people just wanted to be with them people so much. And we didn't as a whole. We didn't as a whole. We didn't. On my soul, we didn't. We were coerced through them children. And the children were really coerced through the leaders. Thank you, Zach Attack, for becoming a new member. It makes absolutely no sense for us to go try to cohabitate with the very oppressors that oppress us. That doesn't make sense. If you live in a neighborhood and it's the Bloods around the corner, and every time you go around the corner, them Bloods gonna pop you upside your head, or sometimes the Blood come around your corner and mess up your corner in your neighborhood, why would you go to fight to be next to the Bloods? It doesn't make sense. This whole movement, this SCLC, doesn't make sense. And look, it's just like we just wanted so bad to be a part of something that we didn't have no business trying to be a part of. And look where it landed us. It played key roles in the March on Washington in 1963 and the Selma Voting Rights Campaign and March to Montgomery in 1965. The SCLC also broadened its focus to include issues of economic inequality, starting the Poor People's Campaign in 1967. Now, remember, in 67, that was after the whole March on Washington and all that I Have a Dream. Martin Luther King Jr. served as the organization's first president from its founding until his assassination in 1968. He was succeeded by Ralph Abernathy, who served as president until 1977, and James Lowry, who served until 1997. Today, the SCLC is still active as a national and international human rights organization, heavy on the international. What does the internet, what? It started for civil rights for us, and don't get me wrong, we did a little yin for others. But now it's a national and international. There goes that inclusion word again. There goes that inclusion word again. The Great Hustle says we went to Supreme Court in South Carolina to not segregate, integrate. That's what we all should have been doing. That's what we all should have been doing. What you say? You see they wiping out HBCUs? They wiping out HBCUs trying to use integration as an excuse. Oh, yeah. They already got the clears going to the HBCUs. They literally already have them going. They already go. And guess what? They get scholarships. I hope y'all know that. They get scholarships. But this SCLC movement was counterproductive as F. None of this made sense. None of this made sense. None of it. Now it's an inclusion movement, international. Thank you, Seven, for the super sticker. I appreciate you, my love. I make it right. I make it right. I make it right on them hoes. I make it right. I make it right. I make it right on them hoes. Even if the people who were a part of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference wasn't in on the backdrop of this, them people knew, thank you again, Seven, that what they were doing was not going to actually help. But they were government agents. We've already discussed it. Why you think they made sure Martin and Malcolm never met? Because Malcolm was like, baby, I ain't trying to be around them just like they ain't trying to be around me. All I'm asking is you don't mess with us and we won't retaliate and mess with y'all. That's why they kept FBI on Malcolm, because Malcolm could have really galvanized a group of black people who would have literally went up against these folks. But Mike was their pet, because he was helping push their agenda. Malcolm was saying, I don't want nope. Y'all go over there, leave us over here, because if you come over here by any means necessary, we busting your ass. Okay? They didn't want that, but they kept them separate because they had the same goals in mind. They just had different avenues of going about it. I want to show y'all something. What was Black life like prior to desegregation? Because see, I'm not saying that they didn't have poor Black people. Of course they did. That would be insane to say that they didn't. But they had a lot of people that were doing extremely well in the 1950s and beyond. And before, I'm sorry. Remember, Tulsa, Oklahoma was torn down with the bombs and all that stuff, and they rebuilt it back. You know that, right? They rebuilt it back. They didn't just go let that ride like that. They rebuilt it back. That's how much money these Black folk had. Look. But they teach us in school that everybody was poor. We were all sharecroppers. And even some of the sharecroppers were sharecropping their own land. Don't be fooled and don't get it twisted. Some of the sharecroppers, yes, that was their occupation, but a lot of them sharecrop their own lands. They leave that part out. They don't say that part. Look at some of how the 1950s were for Black people.
Reporter, the Negroes spend almost $3 billion a year for food alone.
$3 billion a year for food alone. How much is that in today's money? Let me go see. I got to go see this. I'm going to let it play, but I got to go see this. Hold on. I'm going to let it finish playing.
Per capita, they buy more cosmetics, drugs, and toiletries than anyone else in the country. And their children are better educated, too. Because since 1930, enrollment in Negro colleges is up 2,500%. But really, to recognize the importance of this class Negro market, we must
pause. Run that back, Mr. Clearman.
100%. But really, to recognize children are better educated too, because since 1930, enrollment in Negro colleges is up 2,500%.
Now, if we were all broke, poor, and disgusted, how was enrollment into college, which has never been free, how on earth were we able to afford it? Remember, we were all ex-slaves. We had nothing. How were we able to afford that amount, that much of money to send our children to school, to college? How, Sway? How? Remember, they said, according to them, we were all broke, poor, and disgusted. Anybody who tell you we're doing better pro or post these segregation or post Jim Crow is a goddamn lie. Thank you, Cosmic Sun Soul, for the super chat. In Poland, they are inviting so-called Black American men to come and meet clear Polish women so that they can get married and procreate. Of course, and not only Poland, either Asia. I think it's Japan. They need our genetics to survive. Predators, vultures, vampires, they need us to survive. They don't live without us. And Negroes gonna go over there too. I hope they stay, if you ask me. All the Negroes who carry behind the Japan and all the, please stay. Don't come back, fat. We don't want you here. Just stay where you at. Just stay. Just stay. But enrollment in the college was up by 25%. They say we was doing hella good education-wise. I'm confused. And I get it. This don't speak for the masses. But this definitely speaks for a large group because he's talking about Negroes in general, not just in one area.
But really, to recognize the importance of this class Negro market, we must realize that something has been happening economically in our country. People are on the move. The population is shifting. The makeup of metropolitan populations today is different than it was just a few short years ago. To give you a better idea of what we mean, we set up several cameras, candid cameras, in a number of shopping locations. Take a look at these shoppers. Notice what a large proportion of them are Negro. What's the reason? It's simply this. Negro families are moving into the cities where there are more job opportunities.
Pause. Remind you, this is all from the Great Migration. We went over that. Was it last week? Oh, I did a video. I can't remember. A lot of the Negroes are moving from rural areas into the big cities, part of the Great Migration. Now, what they'll say is, oh, well, they moved over there and it was broken, it was poor. No, ma'am. Where they getting all this money from? Listen. The biggest misconception or miseducation about us is that all of us is broke or was broke and poor. We've been fueling the economy since the beginning of time. This didn't just start. This didn't just start. Thank you for the super chat, Cosmic Sun Soul. The sun is annihilating them and they need our DNA. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Thank you for the super chat. I know people who build houses with no education. I'm talking about build their own homes, build their own communities. We had hospitals, schools, all of these things. But they never teach you that, because if you think by any stretch of the means that you could possibly do it again, they gotta tell you was a slave and nothing. And this is a documentary from the time, so I ain't say it. This is what the documentary saying. What's going on, MOB? You engaged? Oh, congratulations, MOB. Is you engaged? Oh, tell my sister-in-law I said congratulations. Tell her I said congratulations. That might not have been in the right song. I thought it would have been me. Tell your new fiance congratulations, fat.
Congratulations! Oh my God.
That will never not be funny. But congratulations, MOB. Congratulations, MOB, okay? Anyways, where was I going? We were not doing as poorly as they say we were, but they have to put it in our minds that we were, because remember, they're erasing us and they're making us believe we aren't who we really are. Okay? Let's get back into it.
Here they find occupations with more prestige and security, jobs that pay more money. As a result, Negro families today often make up the largest part of Central City consumer prospects. A shoe store in...
one thing too, I mentioned this before, I hate to stop it again. The reason that they had the Great Migration going up to Chicago, big cities like that, that's when Detroit, all of those plants were coming about. Remember the cars? They needed workers. They needed workers. It was a collective effort. You got the KKK and the racist people from the South to make them scared. And then you got the Chicago Tribune or the Chicago, whatever it was, paper. The Chicago Defender, was telling them, hey, y'all, come up to Chicago, better jobs, better this, better that, da, 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 da. It was a collective effort by the South and the North. This is another gentrification. This is another urban renewal. The Great Migration and urban renewal kind of go hand in hand. It's the same thing that happened today with gentrification. They just do it differently. Okay?
Chicago's Loop, for example, reports that more than 50% of its customers are Negroes. In another case, a drugstore located at a transfer point in a non-Negro neighborhood finds that its Negro customers total 25%. The trend is plain. The new Negro families today are moving into more populated areas, to the cities, where there are more stores, more buying opportunities. Since 1940, in San Francisco alone, the Negro market has increased by 89%. In Chicago, by 81%. Houston, Texas, 45%. Philadelphia, 50%. The impact of this new buying force...
You know what's crazy? When I did my genealogy, I was just about to say New Orleans. Look, the Lord Most High. When I did my genealogy, I found that my great-grandmother migrated here to New Orleans from Mississippi. Her and her husband migrated. Well, it wasn't her husband. That's a long story. You get it? You feel what I'm saying? But ultimately, they migrated from Mississippi, from the rural area to the city, New Orleans. That's how my grandmother get here. My grandmother wasn't born in, well, no, she was born in New Orleans. Her oldest sibling, which is the first child, was born in Mississippi. My grandmother was born in New Orleans because my great-grandmother migrated to the city. Thank you for the super chat, Cosmic Sun Soul. They even have a doc how to buy to the Negro, or how to buy the Negro, how to sell to the Negro. They're gonna get in a little bit of it on this thing right here. Let me hit the money dance.
I make it right. I make it right. I make it right on them hoes. I make it right. I make it right. I make it right on them hoes.
Thank you again, Cosmic Sun Soul. Y'all know my grandma she was a troubled woman. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you know, you know. Yeah. Rest in peace, grandmother. Nevertheless, let's move on. But my people, they migrated to New Orleans. That's how we got to New Orleans. If my great-grandmother never came to New Orleans, I'd be from Mississippi. Ain't that crazy?
Is so tremendous that actually in 14 major United States markets, a product cannot be number one without Negro support. A product must have the backing of this big new buying power to be a leader in the field. What do you have to sell? Chewing gum or cars? Toothpaste or transportation? Whatever it is, here are millions of prospects. And these prospects are everywhere. Negro customers can no longer be pigeonholed. They cannot be classified as prospects who trade only in certain stores, certain neighborhoods. Today, Negroes shop downtown. They shop in supermarkets. They shop in small neighborhood stores. They'll buy from anyone who wants to sell to them. But we all know that before you can sell to customers, you've got to get to know them. You must understand something about them. What do the Negro customers buy? Why do they buy? How do you sell to them? Let's find out. Let's hear the opinion of men who have spent a lifetime studying the buying habits of customers the world over. Here is what sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro.
Yes, there is a thing called a sales psychologist. That's a person who studies the shopping habits and the minds and mindsets of people who shop. Okay? That's literally all that is. That's literally all that is.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Do you wonder why? Well, listen to what this customer is thinking.
That last hat I bought just didn't hold up at all.
You see, for a long time, the Negro has been sold a lot of shoddy, second-class merchandise. So now he asks for name brands in order to make sure he gets his money's worth.
I want to stop this right quick. First of all, my boy looking good, ain't he? Ain't my boy? Hey, look at my boy. Hey, niggas still pose like that today when they put that shit on. Am I lying? When niggas put their stuff on, don't they still? I remember my brother used to do that. How I look. You know what I'm saying? Shout out. My brother looking good. But look. Hell yeah, he sharp. Hell yeah, he sharp. And he know it too. That's why he bent back like that. You know what I'm saying? The psychology behind Black people buying these expensive things, even to this day, is not only because they want, good, things. There's a sense of leveling up or a sense of feeling like you're above the average Negro and you're closer to the level of the clear people that makes you go out and purchase extremely expensive things. And it's a subconscious thing. So most people don't even realize it. What do I mean? Let's fast forward to today. Because he said they only buy because they used to being so rubbish. That's not true. Let me tell you today. Today, people go spend thousands and thousands of dollars on bags, shoes, purses, and to do what? Because you're not flexing on the clear people because you ain't around them like that. And the clear people who see you with your thousands of dollars worth of bags, shoes, and clothes have 2 feelings. 1, they either hating, or 2, they saying you stupid. Right? Because when you look at the clear community, only the celebrity and only the big time people shop like that. But when it comes to Negroes, we shop like that because there's a subconscious need or a subconscious want to be around these people, period. Then there's another part to it. This is another part to it. Another part is if you're next to the average Black person, you feel like you're on a bigger, or my neck hurts, y'all. Let me take this down. You feel like you're on a different level from that person. We see it with cars. People will go into debt. Do you hear me? Buying a car that they really can't afford. You can see it today with the cars. I'm talking about they can't even afford the Cardinals long term, but it don't matter. Watch when I pull up on them. You know what I'm saying? Yep, houses too. Absolutely. Houses too. It really is like that. And it's a subconscious thing. It's not anything you understand or realize you're doing. What happens is it's subconsciously, you don't want to be down at the bottom. Does that make sense? Oh, primes are extreme examples. Do you hear me? Don't get me started on these primes. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started. Kiko said, that's not true, Voodoo. I work in corporate America with clear people, women who have high-end bags as elk. I understand that, but you're talking on a micro level. I'm talking on a macro level. If you work in corporate America, of course, they have to keep up a image. Of course, they're not coming to work in Walmart suits. That don't go like that. That's a micro level of what I'm speaking on. I'm speaking on the macro, on the big, the major. Micro level, listen, lawyers have to look a certain way. So they're going to buy certain items. They have to sell themselves. Corporate America, they have to sell themselves. They're not going to go down to the Goodwill and get a suit and come to work in no corporate America. That don't go like that. I'm talking about on a macro level. When I say macro, I mean as a collective on the clear side, as a collective on the Negro side. Okay? I'm telling you. Of course they buying high-end stuff on corporate level. You corporate, you got to. You got to. But when it comes to the average working class American, ain't no need for Keisha with all them kids down there barely making ends meet to be buying $1,000 bag. That don't make no sense. You know why Keisha from down the street buy that $1,000 bag? Because she want to be able to shit on the other girl on the other side of the street. You know why the broke clear person who just make just as much as money as the Negro who buy that $1,000 bag? You know why that if they both on the same economic status, do you know why that clear person look at the Negro as you a damn fool? Because they understand that you just blowing money and throwing it away. And for what? Just to say you got it? Now I'm not shaming nobody who buy the stuff. I personally don't. But I don't shame nobody who buying it. I'm just telling you the psychology of sales. Why do you think they had, remember we were talking about this the other day on the morning Joes? They had Nelly and Ashanti do a baby shower, remember? Who sponsored the baby shower? Dolce, and Gabbana? Who you thought that was for? You thought that was for the working class clear person to see it and be like, oh shoot, let me go down to Dolce. They make their money off of us. That's who they make their money off of us. That's the facts. That's why they use these rappers and these new girls to come in and do these baby showers. Because how many bitches gonna spend their lives going down to Dolce? You know? And again, I'm not shaming nobody who buy it. I don't buy it, but I'm just saying there's a deeper level of psychology behind that. And that's how another way they've been able to use us. That's all I'm saying. It's no shame on nobody. I'm just telling you what they're doing. Thank you, Seven, for the super chat. It blows my mind. These clear people have all these info about Negroes. They study us. They study us. They have nothing better to do than to sit back and watch us. They study us. That why you think we about to get into a psychologist who gonna tell you this whole thing is about how to sell to a Negro. They literally sit down in like a lab with, you know how they do lab rats? They put the rats in the lab and then they put them in a situation to see how things gonna fare out. That's what they doing to us on a daily basis. Literally. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, son, for the super chat. There's a route that went from Sulphur up to Chicago. Notice all those in the video aren't melanated, pandering to the proximity to clears. Absolutely. All those people were not melanated in that video. And that's done on purpose, too. Again, Black people have this subconscious love. We want to be next to these folk, and I don't understand. I don't understand. And somebody said it started with integration. Absolutely, it did. Absolutely. Because long as we was in our own space, forced to be in our own space, ain't none of us was trying to go be around them folk. So you're absolutely right. Thank y'all for the super chat. Oh, listen. Thank you. We call BS News Podcast. That's how projects got started, specifically Cabrini Green in Chicago, all over America, fat. All over America. Let's get back into this little clip so we can move on. Now watch what the psychologists say.
Buying by brand. That's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware. But she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives.
Didn't the clear man just say what I just said? Let me back it up. Because maybe when I said it, y'all didn't want to hear it. So let me let the clear man say it. I'm gonna let the clear man say it from the 1950s. What you say, Mr. Clear Man?
Merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware, but she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Buying the admiration and approval of who? Her peers. What are we talking about? Yes, when she had that dinner party or she invite everybody down for Thanksgiving, she want all them hoes' mouth to drop when they see her crystal on her table. What are we talking about?
Listen to her thoughts.
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joan.
It's a well-known fact.
Didn't I say to stunt on the next nigga? Didn't I say to stunt on the next nigga? Now come on now. This didn't just this was made before I was born. This was made before I was born. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. This was made before I was even born. My mama wasn't even born in the 50s. No, my mama wasn't even born in the 50s. Let's get into it. What you say, sir? What you say, ma'am?
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joan.
I can hardly wait to show it to Fallon and Joan.
It's a well-known fact that many Negro customers are influenced by the opinions of others. What their friends may think of a certain item often decides whether or not the sale is made. So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing.
Here we go. You forced the black man out of the household to provide government housing when men were providing homes in healthy communities, two-parent households. What makes you think that's true, Jasmine Bishop? What makes you think that we had healthy two-parent households and men were just providing? And Jasmine, if you're a woman, let's put this into perspective. If you're married to a man who can provide for you, y'all are happy, y'all are healthy, and he can provide for you without you need nothing from nobody, why would you put him out to go get minimum of government assistance? Think about it. Think about it, Jasmine. If you were in a situation where you had a husband who took good care of you, your kids, your household, why would you leave all of that going on? I'm talking about the love and security of your husband to go get the very minimum of government assistance. They wasn't getting rich. They weren't getting rich, mind you. It ain't like government assistance gave them more than they was getting in these so-called loving households. Stop saying that. That's not the truth. Most of those women were married on paper. Most of them women couldn't even find their husbands because they had them went up and made 3-4 more other families. I tell you what, the ones who did have those situations did not go on welfare. My grandmother and grandfather on my daddy's side. My grandfather had 16 children with his wife and 4 outside of his wife. And guess what? His wife ain't never divorced him to go get no child support. To go get no welfare, none of that. She never did. She stayed with her husband. And not only did he take care of the 16 he had in the house, he took care of the 4 around the corner. What are we talking about? Y'all got to stop repeating that. That's them talking points. Y'all have to stop. That's a lie. That's a lie. The people who were doing economically well were not putting their husbands out. They were not putting their families, tearing their families apart to go get the minimum of welfare. They weren't making these people rich. These people live in poverty. Why would they leave a situation that takes them out of poverty to go live in poverty? Y'all got to stop saying that. We got to start using our common sense. The women, a lot of those women who left them, who put the man out of the home, The nigga shouldn't have been there anyway. He was leeching off the women anyway. Y'all do know the women were the breadwinners even back then as a collective. I'm just saying. People were not, listen, this is all I'm saying though. People were not leaving great situations to go get on, live in the projects in the hood in impoverished neighborhoods to receive welfare. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. That don't make sense, y'all. Y'all got to start thinking about this stuff y'all saying.
Hey, don't try to sell him something else. Don't try to switch him at the point of sale. If you do, he'll probably react something like this.
Doesn't he think I've got the money to pay for it?
There's a reason for this reaction. Again, because he's had experience with cheap merchandise, the Negro resents being offered a substitute. He wants to be sold on quality, not price. The Negro buys by brand, he buys quality, and he doesn't like to be switched at point of sale. These are the keys to selling the Negro customer.
Them people already studied us, man. I can't watch the whole thing. I'll put the link in the chat. Hold on. Somebody asked for the link earlier. Them people, listen to me and listen to me good. Oh, I didn't mean to open it up in the window. But these people literally, well, let me close this window. Let me close this one too. Them people knew how to sell to us. Let me see. Do I have it? Did I copy it? Yeah, there you go. There go the link to the video. There's a longer one. If you guys are interested, there's a longer one for it. But we have to be mindful. Them people been watching us for a long time. A long time. They know what they're doing. Trust and believe they know what they're doing. Now, let's move on to this. Let's go into one more thing. Let's go into Black economics before desegregation. We need to see what was the economy like for Black people before desegregation, okay? This is extremely important. Let's get into a history of Black-owned businesses in the U.S. Hold on. So y'all can see it. Let's get into a history of Black-owned businesses in the U.S. It's a small article from Hiscox Encourage Courage, hiscox.com. A history of Black-owned businesses in the U.S. Black-owned businesses have a long and rich history in the United States, but today minority-owned businesses have a harder time getting access to capital and therefore have higher rates of failure compared to white-owned businesses. To put things in perspective, Black-owned businesses have been twice as likely to shut down because of the pandemic compared to small businesses overall. I want to get to a part where I'm talking about a golden age of Black-owned businesses. From about 1900 to 1930, there was a golden age of Black-owned businesses in the United States because Jim Crow laws forced African Americans to form more insulated communities separated from whites. It led to a boom in entrepreneurship. Listen, because they forced us to not be around them, we had to create our own businesses. All across the country in urban areas where this ad popped up. What the hell? There you go. All across the country, where was I? All across the country in urban areas where the majority of Black people live, small businesses were popping up at a record speed. In 1900, Booker T. Washington founded the National Negro Business League, renamed the National Business League. You see how they took the Negro off? In 1966, the league supported Black entrepreneurs and helped them start and grow their businesses. 600 chapters were established across the United States. Of course, we know about Black Wall Street. The emergence of an affluent Black community in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma at the turn of the 20th century was quickly nicknamed Black Wall Street. I want to get to a part because we know about Wall Street. It says, because of laws prohibiting blacks from patronizing white businesses, black businesses, including clothing stores, salons, banks, and cafes, flourished in Greenwood due to a lack of competition. What ensued was a large migration of blacks to the area from places like Mississippi and southern states. That's why a lot of y'all people who live up Midwest and up north, y'all got grandfathers or great-grandparents from the South. Okay? That's why. Let's get into insurance. We were doing insurance too. From as early as the 17th century, that's the 1600s for the people in the bike, African Americans have been involved in the insurance industry. Of particular note is the North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company, which was established in 1898. It grossed $250,000 by 1910 and is known as one of the oldest, most prominent black-owned insurance companies in the United States. This is the part they don't teach you about. Okay? Let's move on. Entrepreneurship. As we celebrate Black History Month in February and all year long, I hate it, we recognize the contributions that have been made to the American economy by the Black community. At the same time, we realize we have far to go as we work toward an economy that is equitable for all Americans. Check out this timeline of African American entrepreneurship that honors their long history as small business owners. Well, why don't I? Let's go down. Look at this. 1863. Free and enslaved Black Americans start businesses in professions such as tobacconists, shoe makers, barbers, and more. But how we get the money to do that? We were all slaves, remember? 1867, emancipation and the start of the Reconstruction era, more Black-owned businesses began popping up, including insurance companies, undertakers, banks, and more. 1900 to 1930. A golden age of Black-owned businesses. Jim Crow laws create more segregation, but also opportunity for entrepreneurship. Black Wall Street is established in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 1916, is that 15? The National Negro Business League, renamed the National Business League in 1966, established over 600 chapters in 34 states. In 1938, Rose Meta Morgans opened the House of Beauty Salon, the first of its kind to promote Black standards of beauty. 1980, Reginald Lewis is the first African American to build a billion-dollar company, TLC International Holding. Watch how the time go. 2002, Black-owned business accounts for 1.2 million of the United States and 23 million businesses, right? 2002 to 2011, Black-owned business experienced the greatest growth in starting businesses compared to any other minority in the U.S. 2020 to 2022, major corporations pledged billions to help educate systematic racism, diversity, and inclusion. Initiatives are enacted to businesses of all sizes. Look at the way this went. We started from owning, lock, stock, and barrel, no grants, no nothing from nobody. We birthed our own babies. We taught our own babies. We had hospitals and doctors for our own babies. We had banks for our own money. We had everything we needed for us, not because we wanted to, because they forced us to through segregation. So in my opinion, somebody from Martin Luther King, who came up under a system where he knew that, especially from his own personal life, he didn't come from no broken, poor family. He knew that economically they were doing well. I want to show y'all this one. Hold on. He knew that economically they were doing well. Why would they go and turn around and want to do this desegregation all so we can feel good type tease? Why would they do that? Hold on. I've showed you this before, but we're going to roll through it again. I showed you this already before, but we're going to roll through it again. Screw it. We ain't got nothing to lose. I'm going to show you in real time what these folk was thinking. Hold on. Let me get the timestamp. Look at John Lewis. That was Martin Luther King boy. That was his boy. Hold on. Hold on. Can y'all hear it? Somebody said no sound. Can you hear it? Let me stop sharing and reshare. No sound. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna share it again. Let's start over. My bad, y'all. My bad. Let's start over. Let me know if you can hear it. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear it.
Thank you so much for having us. Could we talk about, that's a very personal story about King the Man and his legacy. Could you talk about when you first met him, what your impressions, just walk us through a little bit of that.
Y'all can hear it now? Okay, so he's asking him, what was your first impression? How did you meet Martin Luther King? Look.
Well, I first heard of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1955.
55.
When I was 15 years old.
Pause. He heard of him in 1955. This is long before Mike come along. Well, not long before. This is before the Civil Rights Movement. Watch.
I grew up only about 50 miles from Montgomery. I had seen the signs that said white, colored, white men, white women, colored women, white waiting, colored waiting. I heard Dr. King's voice on the old radio. His words inspired me. I heard of Rosa Parks at the same time. The action of Rosa Parks inspired me. I grew up in segregated rural Alabama, and I didn't like the signs that I saw saying white and colored. White men, white women, colored women, white waiting, colored waiting. The action of Dr. King inspired me to find a way to get in the way.
Pause. Mind you, the only time Black people had to worry about or deal with this racism, this segregation, was when they went over to them people's stuff. If we had our own banks, and I'm not saying there was no reason to go buy on these people's stuff. What I'm saying is we had our own stuff. So when you went over there, yes, you experienced whites only, coloreds only. But you really had everything you need in your own neighborhood because y'all were forced to be able to provide for yourselves. Thank you for the super chat, son. There's a route that went from Sulphur up to Chicago. Notice all these videos. Oh, I think I read this one. Pandering to proximity of the clears. I read that one. Thank you, son, for the super chat. My nan often says integration was the worst thing that happened to us. She had a cabinet full of pink crystals and house full of French furniture. LOL. Oh, I bet she was a bad one. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I could see that French furniture. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Ayula. Hey, Ayula, for the super chat. Uncle Ruckus did say that things got worse after desegregation on Boondocks. Of course. But they, a lot of people don't pay attention to Uncle Ruckus because of, that was a complicated character. Let me say that. But thank y'all so much for the super chat. Now watch John Lewis.
I have been told by my mother, my father, my grandparents, and great-grandparents, when I would ask questions, they would say, don't get in trouble. Don't get in the way. But I felt like Martin Luther King Jr. was speaking directly to me, saying, John Robert Lewis, you too can do something. So in 1957, at the age of 17, I wrote.
We're not going to go past the fact that his mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, great-grandmother, and great-grandfather, listen to me and listen to me good. Say, hey, boy, leave that shit alone fucking with Mike. Don't go messing with that. Leave that alone. Look. And he still going to write him the letter.
At the age of 17, I wrote Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. a letter. I didn't tell my mother, my father, any of my sisters or brothers or teachers. I wanted to attend a little college 10 miles from my home called Troy State College. I applied to go there, submitted my application, my high school transcript. So I wrote this letter. Dr. King wrote me back and sent me a round-trip Greyhound bus ticket and invited me to come to Montgomery to meet with him. So in September 1957, I boarded a bus. I traveled from Troy, Alabama, rural Alabama, past Montgomery to Nashville to go to school. An uncle of mine gave me a $100 bill, more money than I ever had, gave me a Foot Locker, put everything that I own, my few books.
He come from a family of money. His uncle gave him a $100 bill. Listen to me. That's a lot of money in 1957. His uncle, his family got money. What we talking about? They gave him $100 and a Foot Locker. He was able to go to a college. He was able to attend a whole college. We're talking about a $100 bill back when a loaf of bread was like 50 cents. This is big. This is huge. Look at the economy. We're talking about a $100 bill where you can get a whole thing of groceries for $20. Hell yeah, he was set up good, Fantasy. Hell yeah. He was straight. He ain't need nothing. But he round there playing with Mike. He round there playing with Mike and them. I'm talking about nickel sodas. Girl, what? $100? Yeah, look, and put a down payment on tuition. Man, look, what we talking about? You ain't had no business of Foot Locker. That's something like to store your stuff in. So, for instance, like, you know how you send people off to school or you send people off to, like, the military have them. Foot Lockers are like just little storage areas where you can put your things in. Yes, Yolanda, hard-headed as hell. His mama, daddy, his grandmother, grandfather, and his great-grandmother and grandfather said, don't you go around there fucking with Mike. Leave Mike alone. You ain't got nothing to do with that. Don't you go around there getting in trouble. And you know what he did? Look what he did. He still wrote him a letter. He hard-headed. Okay, Miss Parker said back then you could purchase a home for $15,000. $100 was a lot of money. He wasn't broke. He ain't come from. I know it was rural, but like I say, it'll be people like his ancestors that wrote that they were sharecroppers on the list. Just because there was a sharecropper don't mean they sharecrop somebody else's land. A lot of us sharecropped our own land. Come on now, what we talking about? Heather Spears said, right, I was looking at my history on the census. My grandparents paid $2 a month for their house note. That's what what we talking about? His uncle gave him $1,000. $1,000. I mean, not $1,000, $100. That's crazy. But look.
A few clothing in that Foot Locker and took a Greyhound bus to Nashville. And while I was there studying, Rosa Parks came to speak at Fisk University. And
y'all know how we feel about Rosa passing out cooch to the railroad company. Don't get me started.
Heard her. I met her. And Dr. King later heard through one of my teachers that I was in Nashville studying. So Martin Luther King Jr. got back in touch with me and told me when I was home for spring break to come and see him. So in March of 1958, by this time I'm 18 years old, I boarded a bus. I traveled from Troy to Montgomery. And a young lawyer by the name of Fred Gray, who was a lawyer for Rosa Parks, for Dr. King, and the people involved in the Montgomery bus boycott, met me at the Greyhound bus station and drove me to the First Baptist Church in downtown Montgomery.
He was an 18-year-old kid. All of these people utilize all of these movements and they push all of these things through the children. Everything happens through the children. He met him at first before he graduated, but by the time he graduated, he got his bus ticket and he carried his narrow ass down there where his mom and his pa, his grandma and his great grandmother and all of them folk told you not to do, John Lewis. You don't listen. See, your uncle should have came, found you, and whipped your ass. That's what I believe. I don't care. Nigga, I gave you $100 in a Foot Locker, and you carry your ass down there fucking with Mike after we done told you not to go down there. I'm coming down there with the belt. I'm coming down there with the belt because you don't listen. You didn't need that. You didn't need to deal with none of that stuff. And even when you think about what he said he only seen the signs. He himself hadn't really even experienced it. Oh, I hate seeing the signs, white only, colored only. Nigga, I'm thinking he gonna get up here and say, yeah, because I remember they came and they lynched my granddaddy. No. He don't listen.
Pastor by the Reverend Ralph Abernathy, and ushered me into the...
Abernathy is one of the SCLC people. It's a pyramid scheme. Abernathy belongs to Southern Christian Leadership Conference, who all of them, not all of them, but I think most of them, if not all of them, were NAACP.
Pastor study. I saw Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph Abernathy standing behind a desk. I was so scared. I didn't know what to say or what to do. And Dr. King said, are you the boy from Troy? Are you John Lewis? And I said, Dr. King, I am John Robert Lewis, but he still called me the boy from Troy. And he said, you know, if you want to go to Troy State College, we will support you.
Pay attention.
We may have to sue the state of Alabama. We may have to sue Troy State, but we're prepared to help you.
Pay attention.
Go back home and have a discussion with your mother, your father. You know, your home could be bombed. That's what he said.
Now pause. Pause. He say, John Lewis, the boy from Troy, if you want to go to school, we support you. But you could be a part of this lit-ass movement. You could be a part of this lit-ass movement. Now, you might get your house bombed. Your mom and daddy might die, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, you could be a part of this movement. This is an 18-year-old kid. What you think he gonna think about? Remember, Martin Luther King was a celebrity. Yeah, they was waiting on him at the door. Martin Luther King was a celebrity. It's no different from a major celebrity right now hitting up somebody personally being like, yo, you can join my movement. Now, y'all might lose a lot, but this movement lit. To a child, they going with the move. Thank you, son, for the super chat. MLK was boule, a socialist, and like German women. Oh, yeah, we did a whole thing on MLK. Covered all of that. The Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, we covered all of that. Thank you for the super chat. Robin Thicke said it was the civil rights freak-offs with Reith and them. That's probably what he really told him. Look, John Lewis don't want to admit it. He probably told him, hey, they got these freak-offs, bro. Lord have mercy. Hey, you can go to school, though. I ain't saying they got some bad bitches at school. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, nigga, you ain't never seen what I done seen around these freak-offs. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't know. You know, I ain't trying to tell you what to do. But I'm just saying, you know, the college girls, that's cool. But we talking about 3, 4, 5 bitches. You feel what I'm saying? Riri, her Paul, me, everybody in there. You just never know. You just never know how the conversation went. But all I know is John Lewis was willing to put his mammy, his pappy, all his ancestors, all of their land and all of that in harm's way for the movement. Ask me a question. Answer this. If somebody came to you right now and say, hey, there's a movement going on that can help benefit all of America. Now, it may cause your mother and father to be harmed or your house to be bombed. But the movement is something that we need to do. Do you think, put a 1 in the chat if you going with the movement or you going to protect your mom and your daddy. Come on now. I'm not sacrificing my mom and my daddy in my house. You know what I'm saying? Fucking around with y'all. Hell no. Nah, I don't mind being a part of the movement if I don't have to sacrifice like this. But they used the children. He was a child. He didn't know no better. Martin Luther King was a celebrity. Come on back here, John Lewis. Now, what happened? Because you needed your ass whipped. I wish I was living in 1955 and I was around Troy State. I would have caught you coming out of one of them goddamn dorm rooms and pop you upside your goddamn head and told you I would have told you, and I'm going to tell your mom and your daddy. And I know your grandma. That's what I would have did. Put me in a time machine.
To the state of Alabama. We may have to sue Troy State, but we're prepared to help you. Go back home and have a discussion with your mother, your father. You know, your home could be bombed. That's what he said. Your home could be burned. Your family could lose their land. You could be beaten.
Skirt! What happened? What's all that risk now?
Have a discussion with your mother, your father. You know, your home could be bombed.
Your home could be bombed.
Your home could be burned.
Could be burned.
Your family could lose their land.
Say what now?
Go back home and have a discussion with your mother, your father. You know, your home could be bombed. That's what he said. Your home could be burned.
Mm-hmm.
Your family could lose their land.
You see, when y'all do y'all genealogy and y'all see sharecropper on there, do not for one single bit think that your family was just a sharecropper for somebody else. We owned a lot of land. That was one of the other pros for the clear people and for the powers that be. When they did the Great Migration, a lot of people left behind a lot of land. A lot. A lot. Your home could be bombed and your family could lose their land. What you say, Robert?
You could be beaten. You could be harmed. And I went back, had a discussion with my mother and my father.
Pay attention.
They were so afraid that something could happen to me. It could happen to them, or we could lose the land, lose the farm.
Because see, these the people on the census, they say that they sharecroppers. What happened?
Afraid that something could happen to me. It could happen to them, or we could lose the land, lose the farm. So they didn't want to have anything to do with my attempting to enroll at the school.
His parents, grandparents, that land probably been in they family for generations upon generations upon generations. His parents disapproved and said, hey, we don't want nothing to do with that because, you know, we could really lose everything we've ever had. The older folks knew it. They got through the children. He was an 18-year-old boy when all of this happened. An 18-year-old boy who literally was influenced by the celebrity Martin Luther King because he was a freaking celebrity.
And I continued to study in Nashville. And from time to time, Martin Luther King Jr. would come to Nashville to speak at Fisk University, at the City Auditorium, tell the story of the movement. Rosa Parks would come there. And I stayed in touch with Dr. King. And he became, in a sense, my hero.
Listen to me and listen to me good. Martin Luther King used his celebrity to influence this young boy, because that's what he was. 18, he's still a child. To influence this boy to possibly lose everything his family had ever had and had ever been worked for and had ever been passed down to them. Them people had money. Them people wasn't broke by fall. Them people wasn't broke by fall. Them people, his uncle gave him $100 to go to college. Imagine, that ain't even what his mama gave him and his daddy gave him. But trying to be hanging around Mike and them, and you think Mike foolish? Mike knew what he was doing. Mike knew Martin Luther King. He knew that, yo, I can influence a lot of people with this celebrity. And he did. His parents didn't want nothing to do with that. And let me tell you this too. Please be advised. Please be advised. This here, right here, ain't the only situation like this. Most of them people during this time that left a lot of land and sacrificed all this stuff, done on purpose. Done on purpose. Done on purpose. Now I want to move on. Let's get to the civil rights movement. Now we know all of this. This is what we know so far. What we know so far is that economically, I ain't gonna say all of us, but a lot of us was okay. A lot of us was okay. They won't tell you that, but a lot of us was actually doing pretty well. If college entry had spiked 25% between the 30s and the 50s, that tells you financially we were doing well. Literally, it tells you that. Let's pull up the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Lyndon B. Johnson. And we about to get into the backstabbing stuff. Civil Rights Act of 1964. In the 1960s, Americans who knew only the potential of equal protection under the laws expected the president, the Congress, and the courts to fulfill the promise of the 14th Amendment. In response, all three branches of the federal government, as well as the public at large, debated a fundamental constitutional question. Does the Constitution Constitution's prohibition of denying equal protection always ban the use of racial, ethnic, or gender criteria in attempt to bring social justice and social benefits? In 1963, remember, John Kennedy was the first one Mike was working with. In 1963, John Kennedy asked Congress for a comprehensive civil rights bill induced by massive resistance to desegregation and the murder of Medgar Evers. We're going to get into him too, because I feel like we'll get into it. After Kennedy's assassination in November, President Lyndon Johnson pressed hard with the support of Roy Wilkins and Clarence Mitchell to secure the bill's passage the following year. In 1964, Congress passed Public Laws 88352, 78 Statute 241, and then it says the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of color, race, religion, sex, or national origin. Provisions of this Civil Rights Act forbade discrimination on the basis of sex as well as race in hiring, promoting, and firing, which we know that's still the people promote who they want to promote. The act prohibited discrimination in public accommodations and federally funded programs. It also strengthened the enforcement of voting rights and the desegregation of schools. We didn't need none of this. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 is the nation's benchmark civil rights legislation, and it continues to resonate in America. Passage of the act ended the application of Jim Crow laws, which had been upheld by the Supreme Court in the 1896 case Plessy versus Ferguson, in which the court held that racial segregation purported to be separate but equal was constitutional. The civil rights was eventually expanded by Congress to strengthen and enforce of these fundamental rights, right? So up until the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Plessy versus Ferguson whole situation, separate but equal, was already upheld by the courts in 1896, right? Let's move on. I want to show y'all something else. Mind you, economically, we ain't need none of this stuff. Socially, the way we felt, I get it. But we ain't need none of this, okay? Let's be clear. Mike and his relationship with Lyndon B. Johnson, the president. This is where, and I've shared this before, but we're going to run it back. This is where I show y'all what was really going on. Because we went over this before in the previous live. Martin Luther King, y'all go check out my Martin Luther King live. Martin Luther King was paid by the government to settle Negroes down. That was his job. He was even shunned because there was a situation in Albany, Georgia, where he was supposed to settle them niggas down, and them niggas went haywire. Let's get into it. This is Martin on the phone with Lyndon Johnson. He had to do check-ins. He had to check in every so often. Look.
Hello?
Doctor?
Yes, Mr. President.
Well, I just wanted to tell you that how mighty proud I was of a lot of folks last Tuesday, and Hubert Humphrey left here about 30 minutes ago, and I still haven't shaved. I got off my bathrobe. I was up all night the night before, and I thought I'd call half a dozen or so folks and tell them how much I appreciated their confidence and what a good job I thought they'd done, and how they justified their faith, and how many more now we've got to help get out of their bondage.
Yeah.
He patting him on the head. You did such a good job.
Yes, well, we are certainly all very happy about the outcome. It was just such a great victory, and I certainly appreciate your calling. We have some bright days ahead, I think.
Well, it was a great tribute to the intelligence, the judgment, the patriotism of the Negro people that they couldn't mislead them and they couldn't fool them, and their leaders, I think, made great progress from them, and I know they all take great pride in your great honor. And I wired you the other day, but I was moving pretty fast, and I don't know what day it was. As a matter of fact, I don't know where I am hardly. I'm kind of like Dr. Theodore Francis Green. You know, he was at one of Ms. Mester's parties one time looking at a little book. I asked him, I said, Mr. Chairman, he's about 87 years old, and I said, what are you trying to do? See where you're going from here? And he said, no, I'm trying to find out where I am.
Yeah. Well, I know you really need some real rest. I know what you've gone through the last few days.
We'll be back up there working on our program, and we're going to spend a lot of time with Shriver on our poverty thing. I wish you'd give a little thought to it, because that offers a lot of opportunity for our young people that have been denied. And we got nearly $1 billion this year, and we ought to get it going around the first of the year in pretty good shape. Then next year we can do it a lot bigger and expand it, and it offers a lot of economic hope too. And
Let me fast forward, because I got a couple of them.
It was a great victory for the forces of progress and a defeat for the forces of retrogress. And I think we have some great challenges and opportunities ahead, and we're all with you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. I just want to give you a ring.
Give my best regards to the madam.
Sure will. Sure will. She had a hard drive. She took on a pretty hard assignment, didn't she?
I'm telling you, but she did it beautifully.
Mind you. This is who he's working for, Martin Luther King. He has a so-called personal relationship with Lyndon B. Johnson, but guess who didn't? What's the nigga over the FBI? The Negro who they passing off as a clear man? Hoover. He would be on the other end with Hoover saying, yo, I'm just playing on these niggas. Let me show y'all another one. Hold on.
Putting him on.
Use the audio. It was back in the day.
In the house, and I want to get to advice on this and see what we can do to really.
This audio is really bad. Let me know if it's hard to hear. Okay?
block this serious development, which will stand in the way of everything we're trying to get in the voting field. I talked with the Attorney General earlier this morning, and he had some concern about the possible closeness to the vote. And we are very much concerned about it because this will be a very serious setback. I'm sure you're familiar with the ramifications of it.
Yes, if I can speak to you in confidence, I don't want to be in the position of trying to influence or pressure anyone, but I'd be glad to. All right. I think that we're confronted with a realistic problem that we faced all through the years. Combination of the South and the Republicans. The Republicans constitutional because he thought he could get it in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas by challenging them in the courts, and he couldn't get it in Vermont. And so if he had a blanket repeal, it would all go out. But if he had an individual thing, he could get rid of it. I told him to get rid of the poll tax any way in the world he could constitutionally without nullifying the whole law. I didn't want him to say I wrote a bad law that wouldn't stand up. And so they got some of them started over there, and they got a challenge to it. And some of them.
Let me also add, this talks about the buffer system that I be telling y'all about. The buffer system. There are people who are us, who look like us, and who aren't us, that are literally the go-between. Martin Luther King was the go-between between the common folk and the president, the powers that be at the time.
The boys wanted to go a little further and help a little more, and really it was the best judgment we had. And instead of helping more, it would help less. But anyway, finally we got it solved in the Senate, and it was acceptable, and it worked out. I got over to the House, and they've tried every way in the world they could. The first thing they did is they went to the forces that are on our side and said, well, you've got to repeal the poll tax outright, which means you repeal Vermont. And Vermont is not a discriminatory tax, and therefore the court wouldn't hold it, and you wouldn't do any good. But they got McCormick, and they got the real friends that we have to go all the way, hoping that would get the job done for them later on and to the leadership. But we got back then to the big question: how do we avoid this combination? And Judge Smith held it for a while. We had to file a 21-day rule, and there's been nobody really around here shoving it. I've done the best I could, but they hit me on different sides, and the press is kind of all the Republicans. But the Republicans are going to hold pretty well. They're not going to. They're going to quit the niggers. They will not let the nigger vote for them. They just, every time they get a chance to help out a little, they'll blow it. And they could help out here, and they could elect some good men in suburban districts and in cities, but they haven't got that much sense. That's why they're disintegrating as a party. So they're going to wind up being pretty solid. Then they're going to get the Southerners, and to put the two together, it'll probably be within 10 votes of counting. Now, when I went up with my message, I could have probably marked the rent, and his rent cost him maybe $67. Well, the government will come in after 25%, which is $50 of his $200. They'll pay the other $17.50. They always had a lot of venom in it. I have a great hatred for the South, and I'm like a rattlesnake. I'm trying to punish him and all that kind of stuff. So he gets the congressman from the 13 old Confederate states, House insisting on repealing blanket the poll tax, repealing it in blank. We think the court will not uphold us in that. We think that's unconstitutional. We've said so. But we can't avoid it because our own friends have bought it, and they want to be stronger for the Negro than Nick Katzenbach is. So we got to pass it that way. Then it goes to conference. When it gets to conference, you can't...
Mind you, he's talking about political stuff with Martin Luther King because they're working together. They're working together. Remember that. That's why, because there would be no other reason. And Martin Luther King was extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. He had the ear to the people.
You can't pass that way in the Senate because the Senate will not take it. They know that it's unconstitutional. They got 6-year terms, and they're good lawyers, and they're not going to vote for it. Then we all went off. They haven't had any heat except from me, and they're getting tired of the heat from me. They don't like for me to be asking for rent one day, and poverty the next day, and education the next day, and voting rights the next day. And they know I can't defeat them out there in their district in Michigan or some other place. So I'm just fighting the battle the best I can. I think I'll win it, but it's going to be close and it's going to be dangerous. And I have notified the labor people, and I've asked Lee White to talk to you and talk to Roy and talk to any of them that called him. Whitney Young, I talked to a fellow named Proctor of New York in here today that with the Council of Churches. I tell them all that this is a very dangerous thing, and I've been at this business 35 years, and I got a wonderful response on my speech at Howard. I've had it printed. I've sent out to
speech at Howard. Fuck you doing at Howard, Mr. Clearman? Oh, same reason why Biden just got his doctorate. Mike was literally there to be the puppet of the government. Period. Point blank. That's why he's discussing all of this political stuff, because he was a political puppet.
The local chapters of CORE or NAACP or your group in New York and in Illinois, downstate Illinois, and in Pennsylvania and in Ohio, and these states where you've got a good many Negro voters. And you've got to say to them, now, we're not Democrats. We're going to vote for the man that give us freedom. We don't give a damn whether it's Abraham Lincoln or Lyndon Johnson. And we're going to know, and we're smart enough to know, and we're here watching you. And we want to see how you go through that televote. We want to see how you answer on that roll call. Ohio, Pennsylvania.
Can I add to, this is around the time, the 60s, was when they switched parties. The parties didn't switch. The people switched. They took us from a Republican voting party to a Democratic voting party. This is all encompassing in one, right? This is all in one. Not only were they doing this desegregation for economic situations, politically, this all around this time, all in the 60s, they were turning black people from Republican voters to Democratic voters.
In New York, Illinois, California, and do it. Now, that's what we need. We need it Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and maybe even Saturday if they run over. And I told Joe Brown that, and I said, now, don't come back to me after it's defeated and say, well, the president didn't give us leadership, because I'm sounding warning. And you people put out a story Sunday, and that story says that there'll be less than a dozen votes difference. Now, they counted a good many Southerners voting with us. We think we'll lose some of those dozen that they give us. But we're going to try to pick up some more Republicans. That's where you got to pick them up. You know, you're trying to pick up fellow Mississippi, Alabama, Virginia, those places. We'll pick up one or two in Florida. We'll pick up some from Texas. But the place you got to pick them up is Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, New York.
You talking about black people?
You get a fellow like Lindsey. He's running for mayor. He's going to be with us. But you won't get a dozen Republicans. And we've got to ought to get 25 of them, or they ought to be defeated.
Well, I do appreciate this nice.
You can hardly hear him.
I guess this amendment came out before I really realized the extent of it and the real danger of it. And I just from a people proud voting background, black
He's on the phone with Martin Luther King, talking to Martin Luther King about getting these folk to get in. He said, we already got some of Mississippi. We got some of this. They're in the literal process. of getting black people to vote Democrat, right? And I don't want to put it on the Democratic situation or the what you call them, because y'all get to going crazy and windmilling. What I'm saying is this was one of the many agendas that was happening at the time. One of the many agendas was politically, it was socially, economically, all of that. Let me see if this is the one. Hold on. Because remember, right in the middle of the SCLC, here comes a Stokely Carmichael out of nowhere. This nigga ain't even from down south. He from New York by way of Trinidad. He ain't even nigga. And here he come. Oh, yeah. Let's stick in the Black Power movement. It was all a bunch of bull crap. Let me show y'all something. Hold on. I'm about to show y'all how this shit went. I'm about to show y'all right now. It's got to be this one. Yup, this the one. Here you go. What are we talking about?
All right, to
Hold on.
Vietnam. So people will look clearly.
Now listen. While all that's popping off with Mike and the president, insert Stokely Carmichael. Stokely Carmichael come in with the Black Power speech. That's the one. Black Power. That's him. He about to tell you how he got it all riled up. Look. Mind you, one of the biggest things that they were gaining was politically.
To use the term Black Power, SNCC had already decided this before the march. That must be properly understood. We decided to use the march for an education purpose. Number one, we wanted to push strongly our struggle against the war in Vietnam. So people will look clearly at the merited march. You will see anti-Vietnam propping up here. King wasn't using it then, but you will see this is one of the areas where we started to hit him with it seriously. Our march was to put strong nationalism in, to have direct leadership from us, and of course, to throw out Black Power for the mass of the people. Now, I myself had been in Greenwood, Mississippi since early '60. I'd worked in the project there, and when head of the second congressional district, this was our base. So I had spent time in the jail in Greenwood so many times. The police knew me, the police chief knew me, everyone in the town knew me. So we decided Greenwood, it was SNCC's strongest base in the Delta. We couldn't go wrong. Unfortunately for the police, we went to set up some tents there, and the police decided to arrest me. Okay, so before I was arrested, we were discussing Greenwood. This is where we will launch Black Power. So when I got arrested, Rick's...
Now he's inserting the Black Power movement in the middle of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and their Freedom Now movement. Let me say this as well. Mike didn't agree with Black Power movement. He didn't even agree with the term black, let alone Black Power. He thought it was too much. Mike was like, nah, I don't know about all that. I get what you're trying to do, but that ain't what we doing. But Stokely Carmichael fell out of the sky into this Southern movement, and he ain't even from America. He from Trinidad. Look.
Was on the side there when the police said, let them arrest you. We'll get you out of jail, and you come out and make the speech tonight. And he...
Let them, look, they planning it in front of your face. Let them arrest you. You go to jail and get out and come back and make the speech. This is all this shit fake, bruh. All of it. Look.
So when I got arrested, Rick's was on the side there when the police said, let them arrest you. We'll get you out of jail, and you come out and make the speech tonight.
Let them arrest you. You go to jail, you come out, and you can make the speech tonight. Everybody gonna already be wondering, oh my God, what's going on with Stokely Carmichael? I hope he's okay. All we need you to do is pop up, pull over, pop out. Everybody gonna be like, oh my God, Stokely's out of jail. And then here you go, insert the Black Power movement. Look.
And he disappeared. Well, you know how Rick speaks. So anyway, I went to jail. But I was brought out, and when I was released, it was at night, the speech was going on. And when I came to the speech, I was on the line. Ricks came back. He said, we have everything prepared. We're ready for Black Power. We've spoke about it all day. We've primed up the people. And luckily for us, our biggest problem was Martin Luther King, because I knew that
they primed up the people. They primed up. Look, they already got the people riled up. You know how they get y'all riled up on social media today? That's how they was doing in real life.
And when I came to the speech, I was on the line. Ricks came back. He said, we have everything prepared. We're ready for Black Power. We've spoke about it all day. We've primed up the people. And luckily for us, our biggest problem was Martin Luther King, because I knew that once Black Power was said, Martin Luther King would have to come, not fight against it, but with his best try to give reasonings to water it down. But luckily for us, the night in Greenwood, King had to go to do a taped television thing, I think, for Meet the Press. So he had to go to Memphis. So he was not there the night in Greenwood.
Coincidence or no? Now, Martin had already talked to him personally, had already invited him over to the house because he didn't like the Black Power thing at all. He was not for the Black Power movement. So Martin was like, yo, come by the crib and explain this shit to me. He came by the crib. Still, Mike was like, I ain't really fucking with it. So coincidentally, you go let them arrest you. Then you come out. Hey, it's gonna line up good because Mike already got a speech somewhere else, so he ain't gonna be here. Now he's sitting up here talking about how he was worried about it because he knew Martin wasn't for it, but he wasn't tripping because Martin wasn't there anyway.
Let's try to give reasonings to water it down. But luckily for us, the night in Greenwood, King had to go to do a taped television thing, I think, for Meet the Press. So he had to go to Memphis. So he was not there the night in Greenwood. Ricks had everybody primed. He said, just get to your speech. We're going against freedom now. We're going for Black Power. Don't hit too much on freedom now, but hit the need for
freedom now is Martin Luther King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference's movement. Freedom now was their movement. Black Power was SNCC, SNCC, Southern Negro Christian. What is it? Southern Negro something conference. I can't remember. That's Stokely Carmichael and his folk.
Power. So we built up on the need for power. And just when I got there, before I got it, Ricks was there saying, hit him now, hit him now. I kept saying, give me time, give me time. When we finally got him, we dropped it, Black Power. Of course, they had been primed and they responded immediately. But I myself, to be honest, I didn't expect that enthusiastic response, you know, and the enthusiastic.
They had been primed and they responded immediately. I watch this all the time on social media. They be priming y'all up like a motherfucker. Do you hear me? They prime y'all up on social media like a mug. And I just be sitting back like, my people. Oh, Lord, protect my people. I watch Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, prime niggas up like prime rib. And I just have to hold my head down. Look at how it looked to the people who planted it. Look.
There the night in Greenwood. Ricks had everybody primed. He said, just get to your speech. We're going against freedom now. We're going for Black Power. Don't hit too much on freedom now, but hit the need for power. So we built up on the need for power. And just when I got there, before I got it, Ricks was there saying, hit him now, hit him now. I kept saying, give me time, give me time. When we finally got him, we dropped it, Black Power. Of course, they had been primed and they responded immediately. But
of course, they had been primed and they responded immediately. Ricks already hit him with the priming. He already got them riled up. He already got everybody fat. Look, fuck all that. We outside. Hey, Stokely, get your ugly ass in here and hit him with the Black Power. He like, hold on. Give me a minute. Hold on. I got to get him riled up, but just I got to lube him up a little bit. No, hit him now. Nah, let me finesse this and lube him up a little bit more. And guess what he do? Hit him with the Black Power. And look, he said, I didn't expect this much enthusiasm.
So we built up on the need for power. And just when I got there, before I got it, Ricks was there saying, hit him now, hit him now. I kept saying, give me time, give me time. When we finally got him, we dropped it, Black Power. Of course, they had been primed and they responded immediately. But I myself, to be honest, I didn't expect that enthusiastic response. You know, and the enthusiastic response obviously not only shocked me, but gave me more energy to carry it on further. By the time we got down that night, SCLC was running around everywhere. We knew it was finished. We had made our victory. They could not bring it back. It was.
The nigga took the whole movement from Martin Luther King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Did you hear that part? This nigga hijacked the whole movement. A Trinidadian, by the way. Hijacked the entire movement from Martin Luther King's We Shall Overcome to Black Power. Look.
Response. you know, and the enthusiastic response obviously not only shocked me, but gave me more energy to carry it on further. By the time we got down that night, SCLC was running around everywhere. We knew it was finished. We had made our victory. They could not bring it back. It was over. To use the term black power.
Talk about the plant having another plant inserted on them to hijack your movement. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? You think you got, so let's talk about it. The powers that be give Mike a job. Mike, I need you to calm these niggas down. These niggas doing too much. Here comes Stokely Carmichael from out of nowhere, and you saying you trying to do that black power shit. That's off code for what I'm doing over here. And then Stokely Carmichael was like, yeah, but I think black power should be inserted. Mike was like, I ain't really dealing with that. So then boom, back around the corner, you get booked for somewhere in Memphis, and right when you book, he felt he hit the Uno reverse, took the whole shit. Right when you coincidentally is booked somewhere else, they rile the people up, get them all primed and lubed up. Hey, put a little razzle dazzle on there. Go to jail. Yeah. Hey, Stokely, whatever, if that's even your real name. Hey, Stokely, sprinkle a little razzle dazzle on top of this situation. You go get locked up. We gonna get you out right before the speech. Then boom, Mike gonna already be out of town. You come pull up on the speech. Everybody be like, oh my God, Stokely's out of jail. Oh my God, we were so worried. Thank you, so God. Oh my God, Stokely, we're so happy to see you. I'm so happy you're safe. Get Stokely up there. They already primed up because they say they locked up Stokely. We gotta go march. We gotta go da. Oh, it's Stokely. He's right here. Oh my God, Stokely, this is so good. And then he hit him with the black power. And Mike's whole agenda swept right from under his feet. You can't make this shit up. The whole movement, pew, gone. Because guess what? The same churn Mike was utilizing with John Lewis and them, it's a new set of churn now. Them churn ain't want to hear all of that. Them churn going with the next best move. Took the whole movement, hijacked it right from under his feet. Where you think the Black Panthers come from? Black militants. All them black militant groups. And they had James Brown to pull up on them too. You know they got to go get James. They got to go get James. James Brown pulled up and was like, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. You can't make this shit up, I swear on my soul. You can't make it up. You cannot make it up. Do you hear me? They put the icing on the cake. Hey, James, get your ugly ass up here. Please and thank you. I need you to do the say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud joint.
All right, to use the term black.
I need you to do the say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud joint immediately. Let's go get it. Y'all got to see the play. You guys have to see and understand the play. He was a puppet too, James Brown. Look, I ain't gonna play the whole thing. I can only play a piece. I can only play a piece. But I'm gonna play a little piece for y'all so y'all can see it. Got to know that. I'll go with this one. Hold on. Can y'all see this? Oh, no, I ain't put it up here for y'all to see. Oh, you know they had to add a little razzle dazzle. Look, you see how they put the political shit in the movie, in the video? Look. Look. That's for the little razzle dazzle on the top. This here was the razzle dazzle. Let's make it bigger. Look at the symbolism. Look at the politics they put into it. This was the razzle dazzle on top. No cap. I ain't making this shit up. I'm being real. Yeah, y'all not ready for all of that. That's too much. Y'all not ready for that. Hey, niggas was jamming though. My mama like this song. When I told her about it, she couldn't believe it until she thought about it and really put the two and two together and was like, oh. For real, the people who was around, they really was like, nigga really did play on our top. No cap. Say it loud. This is after Stokely Carmichael. Child, let's move on. I want to show y'all something else. Because at this point, I don't know what else to tell y'all. I want to show y'all something else. Back to Lyndon B. Johnson. Back to Lyndon B. Johnson. Talking on the phone with his boy. Talking on the phone with his boy. Hold on. Oh, here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Hold on. Let me go get the timestamp. Hold on.
Revolution in this country when this bill goes into effect. And unless we have the Republicans joining us, we'll have mutiny in this goddamn country. That's right. Well, you're doing a wonderful job, though. And I think stay on this one, though. Yes, sir. All right.
That's him and J. Edgar Hoover. Remember, J. Edgar Hoover is a mulatto. People don't know that. You can look at him right here. That's a mulatto. That's what we call in New Orleans passon blanc. That's a white passing man. That's a Negro there. I know it. You made that was and he got people from his family that came out and said that. That's a Negro there. But he's a good old boy.
A card-carrying member of the Communist Party? The answer is no. It's not as if Martin King could be led by the nose by a Stanley Levison or by a Clarence Jones. That's absolutely nonsense. Martin King, to Hoover, was a Negro that he couldn't control. He was, in the classic case, the uppity, arrogant nigger.
Without providing any evidence of communist infiltration, Hoover had persuaded the Attorney General, Robert Kennedy, to authorize telephone taps on Dr. King and the two subversives he was supposed to be consorting with.
So this before Kennedy got popped upside the head. He wanted them to be like, hey, can we wiretap this nigga? Hey, we need to wiretap this nigga. And Kennedy was like, all right, bet.
Again, according to Murtaugh, Hoover's G-men busied themselves by dreaming up imaginative schemes for the entrapment of the Reverend King. Whether the new president knew what his friend Hoover was up to, we do not know. What is clear is that while Hoover was trying to sabotage progress on civil rights, Johnson was doing everything he could to promote it. He telephoned Mrs. Kay Graham, publisher of the Washington Post.
He did.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. President.
Hello, my sweetheart. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. Are you?
Put it in perspective. He on the phone on one line. Oh, Martin, you're doing such a good job. Thank you for everything you're doing. We just got to get these Negroes to vote Democrat. We got Mississippi. We got some in Florida. We got some in Louisiana. We got some in Texas. We got to get Oklahoma. This is him on one end with Mike, but watch him on the other end with the clear people. Watch.
You know, the only one thing I dislike about this job is that I'm married and I can't ever get to see you. I just hear that sweet voice and it's always on telephone. And I like to break out of here and be like one of these young animals down on my ranch, jump a fence.
The fuck? Did his wife get to hear this? He talking about going smash on that lady. Sir, you are the president. Leave that lady alone. Talking about he want to break out there and jump over like one of them animals. What kind of animal he talking about, girl?
Hello, my sweetheart. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. Are you?
You know, the only one thing I dislike about this job is that I'm married and I can't ever get to see you. I just hear that sweet voice, and it's always on telephone. And I'd like to break out of here and be like one of these young animals down on my ranch, jump a fence.
Could you imagine if you were a woman in the chat to be like, yeah, I be fucking the president? A bitch couldn't tell me nothing. Do you understand me? If I got the president saying, you know, the only bad time of my life is that I'm married and I can't get to see you, and I be wanting to break out of here and jump out like one of these animals, bitch, I'd have been recorded that and sent that to my friends. What we talking about? What we talking about? Girl, my friends would have been heard that. What we talking about? A nigga can't, girl, what? Say what's going, You couldn't, look, Miss Kiki B, you couldn't tell me nothing. I'm not even fucking with no regular nigga. I fuck the president. What we talking about? Girl. For real, look at me. Girl, let me go suck a little, get this little mortgage paid. For and is. Ain't got to worry about nothing with no money. Girl, I fucked the president, bitch. No, not the church president, not the company president. I'm talking about of the free world, bitch, the United States. Stop acting crazy. Somebody said, did he get a weird face looking wife? No, Mike did. Coretta. We went over that again too. I don't care what y'all say. Mike got the light-skinned, weird-looking woman. We already did that. Nah, debate y'all more. I'm just telling y'all what I know. Shout out to Coretta.
Now that's going to set me up for the mud.
Then he got serious. The president wanted the Post to attack Republicans who were blocking his bill's progress by refusing to assign a petition that would allow it to be debated.
Now, every person that doesn't sign that petition has got to be fairly regarded as being anti-civil rights. But I don't think any American can say it. He won't let them have a hearing. That is worse than Hitler did. So we've got to get ready for that, and we've got to get ready every day, front page, in and out, individuals. Why are you against a hearing? And point them up and have their pictures and have editorials and have everything else that is in a dignified way for a hearing on the floor.
He's talking about shaming other political people into civil rights. Meaning, if you're gonna go against it, blast them motherfuckers in the newspaper, put them on the radio, put them on the TV. Let everybody know that he's shaming other people into the civil rights movement. But remember, the civil rights is an economic gain for the government, political gain for the government, social gain for the government. It's a loss on the black person's side on all fronts. It's a loss for all of us and a gain for all of them. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
James Farmer was one of the 3 black leaders with King.
And come right in, Mr. Farmer. Sit down in that big chair. That's a Texas-sized chair. And as he was jerking my arm out of the socket, his phone rang. And he answered it. It was some senator returning his call. And he was twisting this caller's arm, trying to get him to commit himself to vote for the civil rights bill.
Look.
Now, you either for civil rights or you're not. You're either the party of Lincoln or you ain't. And that's about God put up or shut up. And we've been talking about this for 100 years. Looks like about time to stop talking. Now, I just think that we're going to have them out in the streets again if we don't make some little progress.
Hey, I feel like we're going to have them out in the street again if we don't make no progress. Remind you, everybody not in on the play. He's on here telling these other people, hey, you got to vote for this shit, bro. If not, these niggas going to go crazy. But again, the gain for the government was economic, political, and social power. Let me say that part again. The gain for the government was economic, political, and social power. The loss for the black people were economic, political, and social power. So he's on that. Remember, before he was shaming all these people to go for the civil rights. Now he on the phone like, hey, bro, you got to do this shit, bro. You got to do this shit, bro. You have to. If you don't do this shit, it's going to look bad on you, fat. Look.
He was doing all that he could, and all the while he was throwing a glance at me to make sure that I was listening.
So here was the liberal Lyndon Johnson leading America into a social revolution.
Martin Luther King's head shape was funny. He ain't got no backside to his head. Is it me? Look at the way his head shaped. See, that's why I think he one of them black Europeans. I think he one of them Negro-peans. Mike's head was shaped real funny. This is off subject, but look, and then his shoulders, his head to shoulder ratio was a bit different. I just be looking at something that don't mean nothing, but I'm just saying, like, you know what I'm saying? Like his head was shaped a little funny. I know I'm not the only one looking at this like this. Something, nevertheless, let's move on.
And there was the head of his federal police force going all out to frustrate him.
Now, mind you, Lyndon B. Johnson playing both sides. Because you know why? He on one end telling Mike he wants civil rights for these folk. But on the other end, he around there playing the bullshit as he over there telling his homeboy, J. Edgar Hoover, I don't really fuck with him like that for real. I'm just playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just using this nigga.
People who are legitimately oppressed, not dealing with people who are people of character or good morality and all this moral plea to the consciousness. Look at the kind of people they are. They're people who are communists. They're people who engage in so-called immoral activities. I think it would have been devastating.
The success of the Willard Hotel sting stimulated Hoover's appetite. More than a dozen FBI field officers were drawn into Operation Zorro as King traveled across America from Hawaii to New York. And FBI records show, or claim, that he was caught out in at least 2 more sexual encounters.
Oh yes, Mike was getting his freak on. FYI.
On March the 9th, the president and the FBI chief spent 4 hours together in the Oval Office. Hoover, after 4 decades at the head of the FBI, was nearly 65 and facing mandatory retirement. Only special legislation could keep him in office. If Johnson had wanted to get rid of...
Oh yeah, this the part where he supposed to be retired at 65 because nigga, you old. But Johnson wrote something or signed something to make sure he ain't got to worry about, retiring so he could keep his little job. That was his best friend for everybody who don't know. J. Edgar Hoover was Johnson's BFF. So typically he was supposed to be retired at 65, but Johnson just went on and wrote in something to where he could keep his little job or whatever the case may be.
In Florida. The town was a stronghold of the Ku Klux Klan. Many of its members had been sworn in as special deputies by the sheriff, an outspoken segregationist. For King, that made it a perfect place from which to keep the struggle on the nation's television screens and ratchet up the pressure on Washington.
Look, pay attention. He's going to the worst of the worst places in the South to portray that to be the reality for everybody. The fact of the matter is that wasn't. I'm not saying segregation didn't exist in the South. Obviously, it did. But what I'm saying is you have to look at the programming. He went to the worst of the worst places, and they put that on TV as the reality for everybody, when the fact of the matter is that was not the everyday reality. It was all a part of the social programming. If you a child and you looking at this, even John Lewis said, oh, all I experienced really was the signs, whites only, colors only, but he ain't never experienced no real racism. He just gonna remember the signs. But if you put this on the TV and tell people this is reality, and you can say, oh, well, I did see the signs, you're going to connect the two when they don't necessarily always connect.
Martin King, as a leader, as a person, was fearless. To say that he was fearless is not to say that he was unafraid. The Martin King that I knew and observed had a fear that any day, any time, he could be killed.
That
The
ain't
facts show that when he was there nothing was at all shot at. And the night that he announced publicly he was going to leave, it was then shot into. And the next night he was back there, and nobody's bothered him at all.
King was not a man to pass up a chance to prod President Johnson. Messages demanding federal intervention poured into Washington. Johnson, watching news agency reports, called Lee White.
Mr. White, sir.
Lee.
Yes, Mr. President.
I noticed Martin Luther King at 424 UPI. He will ask President Johnson to send federal marshals in the city to preserve law and order. King said he would urge in a telegram to Johnson not only protection but also personal intervention by the president to open communication between the white and Negro communities.
What we do have is a telegram from Wyatt Walker, one of his aides, saying that the Justice Department has not taken proper precautionary measures to safeguard the life of Dr. King.
Why don't you all do whatever you need to and take whatever action you think's indicated?
All right, I will.
As King well knew, direct federal intervention was not a step Johnson would likely take. And as Johnson knew, King was being deliberately provocative.
Take your hands off. Treat me like a human being. We all private property.
With reporters in attendance, King now led a group of activists to an all-white motel, the Monson Motor Lodge. Fighting broke out when 5 young blacks and 2 whites dived into the segregated swimming pool. The manager counterattacked with plastic jugs of an...
Hey, no cap, I ain't gonna lie. We was wrong for that. We was wrong for that. Why are we going fucking with them people shit? Why is we going to an all-white motel to jump in the pool? At that point, we the agitators. And look at the man pouring bleach or whatever in the water. We was wrong for that. We started that. Look, and we thought that was... Let's move on.
Acid cleanup.
King ain't got me yet, fellas. This business of King and his non-violent army is the biggest joke I've heard of. He's not broke the spirit of this community. We just getting right here right now. So you can tell the people that.
Altogether, 34 demonstrators were arrested, including Dr. King.
Planned. It was acid, my bad, Jasmine. Planned. You went by them people and jumped in their pool. 5 Negroes and 2 clear people in a segregated pool. The people whipped your ass, put acid in the pool, and now y'all get arrested, and the cameras just happen to be there. But I bet you the headline didn't read that. This is crazy.
He was charged with violating Florida's unwelcome guest laws. And he spent 3 days in jail.
You know what it remind me of? If you own a house and you got a pool, and I say, I don't want you and your family jumping in my pool because y'all got short hair. And then you turn around to me and be like, but voodoo, it's a pool. I should be able to jump in your pool. And I said, well, no, bitch, this is my shit on my property. I don't want you in my pool. And then you say, well, I'm going to jump in anyway. And you go get 5 other more short-haired motherfuckers. Listen to me and listen to me good. And 2 other people with long hair. And y'all jump in my pool. And then I kick y'all ass. And then y'all get on the news and say, I'm being a segregator. Or I'm promoting segregation. No, bitch, this is my pool. I don't want you in my pool. Girl, Mike, you got to stop. And went to jail with a smile on his face. Look.
On the 4th day, he left for Yale University to receive an honorary degree.
Honorary degree. Even that
Hail all of the black mobs, King and his black revolutionaries. The entire communist conspiracy is concentrating on St. Augustine. Right.
I ain't gonna lie. Y'all ever want to laugh if you're not like super triggered, if you're not easily triggered, if you ever want to laugh, go watch some of the old KKK rallies. They should be funny than a bitch. I ain't gonna lie. Them KKK rallies be funny because they believe it. And they be saying stuff that really sound crazy.
President Johnson greeted him warmly.
Hello, Edgar. Glad to see you, my man.
Look at him and his friend.
Indisputably, the law of the land was now on the side of Martin Luther King. But the nation's chief law enforcement officer did not call off his vendetta. A written FBI directive said this:
We must intensify our coverage of King, this moral degenerate. The main goal is to neutralize or completely discredit the effectiveness of King as a Negro leader.
On the 15th of July, Hoover's agents went to the Bell Company's Atlanta switching center and doubled the number of taps on the telephone lines at King's headquarters. FBI men monitoring calls between Coretta King and her absent husband noticed that his frequent travels were straining their marriage. A telex to Hoover said this:
There is increased evidence of marital discord in the King family. The current situation could conceivably result in a breach between the principals.
Or better still, a divorce.
Pause. AKA, Coretta knew her husband was out there getting cooch. She knew he was at the freak-offs. She was the implanted light-skinned, no shade, but she was the weird-looking light-skinned woman that they get when they sign the paperwork. Listen to me and listen to me good. Coretta wasn't no fool. She knew her nigga was out there in everybody's cooch. She knew that. You think that lady didn't know? And I'm glad you brought that up, Abundance and Clarity. He wanted a clear woman. He admired, what's his name? The one from the Bahamas or whatever. What's his name? The other one we thought was a nigga. Whole time he wasn't. Because he was married to his white woman out loud. He wanted to be with clear women. That's all he cheated with. But Harry Belafonte, thank you, Meek. We went over this before. Go check it out. He went to Harry Belafonte's house and was like, oh my God, I'm so admirable of you. You get to be with your white woman out loud. And I got to play it like I'm married to Coretta. I know we got kids, but I got to be, I want to be with the clear women. Look at this, the face of this lady. That lady knew what her husband was doing. Can't nobody come tell her what her husband doing. That lady knew. She knew what the fuck was going on. She knew all them hoes saying, Martin, come over to the house. I'm going to cook dinner. I expect your feet under my table and your ass under my sheets. Oh, yeah, y'all don't want to talk about it. I expect you in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I expect your feet under my table and your ass under my sheets. Go get, hey, if I'm cooking, them women were saying, I'm leaving here with something. Them women were saying, I'm leaving here with something. What we talking about? That was rumor, Copper Rose, that him and Mahalia had a little 1-2 yin, yin, yin going on. That was rumored. Nah. You think, look at the face of Coretta. You think Coretta didn't know what the fuck was going on with our man? Man, we all know what's going on with our men's. All of us. We know. She know what the fuck was going on with her man. Look, she's sitting there like, this nigga here. I don't even know why he here at this point. Hurry up, film this shit so he can get up out of here. She really sitting there like, hurry up, run this shit so we can get this nigga up out of here. Because he don't even be here anyway, so I don't even know why he here. You can tell she fed up. She been dealing with this shit, but she can't leave it alone because she got to be married to the nigga for political reasons. She like, man, y'all hurry up with this duck ass shit and get this nigga up out of here, man. This nigga doing me. He get on my motherfucking nerves, bro. Get him out of here. Hurry up. Take the pictures. My girl Coretta was in the hollering.
Take the pictures. Take the pictures. Take the pictures. Take the pictures.
My girl Coretta was saying, take the pictures. Hurry up. Take the pictures. Look at her face. I ain't bullshitting. I know a woman when they tired and through. I know a woman when they tired and through. I'm a woman who's been tired and through. Coretta up there saying, man, here y'all go with this duck ass shit. This nigga gotta come in here and play like we together. Hurry up, take the pictures. Take the pictures. Take the pictures so he can go by his bitch. Take the pictures. That's what she, look at her. I'm lying. Look at that lady. That lady up in there saying, man, hurry up. Come on, film this shit and wrap this shit up. I got something to do. I got to get these children ready for bed. Hurry up. I got to get these children ready for bed. He about to leave anyway. It's cool. Hurry up. Do this film and all of that. Get it out. Do whatever. Come on. And I got to move around. I'm not doing this shit with him. Black women know other black women. We know. Coretta said, take the pictures. Hurry up.
You got to remember, if you've got 10 guys in Atlanta and a crew at the Bureau and all the money you need.
Oh my God. Jasmine, wait. Jasmine said, Alexa, play Not Gonna Cry. Hold on. Now I gotta go back to her face. Jasmine say, Alexa, play Not Gonna Cry. Girl, what?
There is increased evidence of marital discord
What?
in the King family. The current situation could conceivably result in a breach between the principals.
Or better still.
Well, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna shed no tears. I was your lover and your secretary, working every day of the week. Was at the job when no one else was there, helping you get on your feet. 11 years and 4 damn kids. Girl, what? What? Coretta said, I'm tired of this nigga, bro. On my soul, I'm tired of this nigga. I'm tired of this nigga. Like, y'all really think shit sweet? Yeah, I come out, pop out at the church. You know what I'm saying? Type shit. But I'm really tired of it. I can't stand this nigga at this point. At this point, I can't stand this nigga for real in real life. But I gotta play it. You know what I'm saying? 11 years. I sacrifice. And you would cheat on me at the drop of a dime. Sure would, Coretta. Coretta, a strong woman. Shout out to Coretta. Shout out to Coretta. Shout out to Coretta. At least Malcolm X's wife ain't had to worry about all that. Her man was faithful. But this one here, see, Coretta better than me. Because I done came to church one day like I want to say something. And I done got up there and said, that nigga been cheating on me this whole time. Fuck that nigga. Fuck the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Fuck SNCC, the NAACP, the Mormons. Fuck the Masons. Fuck everybody. Lyndon B. Johnson, bitch. I'd have got drove one day and I'd have had enough. I'd have got up there and got on the pulpit and said, first giving honor to God, pastor, first lady, that's me, congregation, and to my fellow brothers and sisters. I just wanted to get up here and say, I've been through a lot. I'm a single married woman, raising these children. My man, he puts his peen out and everywhere we go. And at this point, I'm tired. Fuck Martin Luther King. Fuck the NAACP, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SNCC, Black Power. They say, Mahalia, they say you was with my man too. Fuck you too. I don't care how good you sing. Who else? Lena Horne, they said you was fucking on him too. Who else was around there? Bill Cosby, they say you had him down at the free calls. Fuck you too. Everybody who got something to do, I'm tired of this shit. I just want to go back and raise my churn and do it in peace. I'm tired of playing like me and this nigga cool. I don't like this nigga. Please, forever, don't forget me. You know what I'm saying? Please. Aretha, you and your Paul. Fuck y'all. Thank you. Everybody got to go. That's just me. But see, the women was built different back then. They was built different back then. Because see, me, it would have took me one time that nigga done play with me. Oh, yeah, all right. We be down at the church house. Yeah, we be there. Bitch, I'm about to tear all this shit up. Fuck wrong with you, nigga. Fuck wrong with you. You gonna keep playing on me? Oh, I got your face. Don't worry about it. I'm about to tear all this shit down. I would have bleeded that nigga. What's his name? How Blueface be? Talking about he gonna bleed a bitch? I'd have bleeded that nigga. Please. Girl, what we talking about? I gotta play like I like this nigga. I got you.
In the autumn of 1964, Lyndon Johnson was unassailable. His record of legislative achievement outshone even Franklin Roosevelt's. His election by a landslide was a certain the president to appeal for help to Dr. King. For years, he'd been the keeper of Johnson's personal secrets, as well as weighty matters of state, and he could have been open to blackmail. Lyndon Johnson was always inclined to panic at election time. Promptly, he accepted Jenkins' resignation. But to Lady Bird Johnson, a compassionate woman who was campaigning on her own in the Midwest, they were abandoning a close family friend.
Go ahead, please.
Darling, when questioned, and I will be questioned, I'm going to say that this is incredible for a man that I've known all these years. It can only be a nervous breakdown.
I wouldn't say anything.
Oh, Lady Bird, your husband was just on the phone with another woman telling him the highlight of his day was talking on the phone with her, and he wish he could break out like a caged animal and pounce on her. Lady Bird, go lay down. While you sitting up here plotting with this brother, or no, not brother, this saltine talking about what you gonna say down to the people. This man trying to put that peen, that little peckerwood in somebody else. Lady Bird, go lay down. All these marriages be arranged, though. I hope y'all know that.
Well, it's not something for you to get involved in now.
All right. I think if we don't express some support to him, I think that we will lose the entire love and devotion of all the people who have been with us.
Talk to Ms. Jenkins.
All right. She's called me this morning, honey.
Yes, what'd she say?
She is so hysterical and so bitter. It's dreadful.
Girl, shut up, Lady Bird.
Tuesday, you might give some thought to what we ought to do with all secretaries and undersecretaries and assistant secretaries. And I rather think that you ought to take everybody from me right on down.
All right, I'll be very glad, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Stressing that his next remark was on the record, he called Dr. King the most notorious liar in the country.
Ooh.
The remark of Dr. King.
Back up.
Remember, my friend, I'm prouder of you now than I've ever been before, but I've known for 30 years.
Hey.
Of course, I realize.
It's the messed up part. It's when Lyndon B. Johnson was playing on everybody. He had Mike thinking that was his friend, even though that wasn't. But his real friend was J. Edgar Hoover. Watch this snake shit right here. Watch this snake shit right here.
FBI report cleared the president of any suspicion of carelessness and was duly leaked to the press.
Mr. Hoover on 2383.
Hello? Edgar? Yes, Mr. President. I thought that you did a very thorough, very fine job. I'm very grateful for your thoroughness and your patriotism and the way you've handled it, as I am everything else you've ever done.
Of course, I realize it's not that you've been in and the terrible other burden you've had, and it's awful to have this thing happen. But I think we handled it with compassion, and I think the man is a desperately ill man.
Yes, you're a compassionate man, an understanding man, and
from the bottom, you know, be careful about throwing the first stone unless you have sinned yourself.
You know, Billy Graham called me and said, just remember this: always be compassionate, but do your duty.
Well, of course, there's so damn many hypocrites, you know.
That's right.
Particularly in the press in this country.
That's right.
You're just like vultures.
You just remember, my friend, I'm prouder of you now than I've ever been before, but I've known for 30 years that there's nobody like you. And as long as I'm around here, you got to stay pretty close.
Well, I can.
That's okay, my friend.
Fine, thank you.
His own position strengthened by his helpful role in the Jenkins crisis, Hoover now returned to his attack on Dr. King. He invited 2 women reporters to his office for a background chat. He talked about the need for moral purity in public life, and then, stressing that his next remark was on the record, he called Dr. King the most notorious liar in the country.
Most notorious liar.
The remark appeared in print. When the news magazines picked up the story, at least one civil rights leader called for Hoover's resignation. King himself mildly protested that the FBI chief must be suffering from overwork. But on the telephone to a friend, King called Hoover senile. And when the FBI monitors put that in their logs, Hoover went public again in a barely coded speech in Chicago.
Wait, not Dr. King, Jones, and then Ribbon. I could hear Dr. King on his phone. Man, that old senile ass nigga, man. Fuck that nigga. Nigga done sent the tape to my wife, man. Fuck that old senile, ugly ass nigga. And look, J. Edgar Hoover heard that and said, oh yeah, I'm about to get this nigga. Now this nigga playing with me. This nigga really playing on my top. I could imagine, you know, because y'all thinking of that, I have a dream. Y'all think that's how that man talk. That man ain't talk like that. That was a persona. I'm pretty sure for real, behind the scenes, that man was like, man, oh, fuck boy ass nigga, man, nigga playing on my top, senile ass, ugly ass, head ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? And they done tapped the phone and they sent it to J. Edgar Hoover. And J. Edgar Hoover said, yeah, I'm about to fuck this nigga up. Oh, yeah, got to know that part. I'm about to do him dirty now. He really played on my top. Oh, you want to call me senile? Right. Turn this bitch up. You feel what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? Can't nobody convince me otherwise. I'm about to turn this bitch up. He really playing with me. Yeah, abundance, old pussy ass nigga. Could y'all imagine Martin Luther King? Could y'all imagine Martin Luther King? Oh, pussy ass nigga. Mike said, man, this nigga really played with me for real, bro. For real, this nigga really played with me. All right, bet. Senile ass nigga. Duck ass nigga. Didn't know the whole phone was tapped. My nigga J. Edgar Hoover said, oh yeah, all right. Sound about right. I got you. All right, yeah, bet. All right, cool. Somebody kill this nigga real quick. J. Edgar Hoover ain't like that, boy. And you know he wasn't speaking like, I have a dream. He wasn't talking like that when he called that man senile. Y'all know it.
Well, I can. That's okay, my friend. Fine, thank you.
His own position strengthened by his helpful role in the Jenkins crisis, Hoover now returned to his attack on Dr. King. He invited 2 women reporters to his office for a background chat. He talked about the need for moral purity in public life, and then, stressing that his next remark was on the record, he called Dr. King the most notorious liar in the country.
Mm-hmm.
The remark appeared in print. When the news magazines picked up the story, at least one civil rights leader called for Hoover's resignation. King himself mildly protested that the FBI chief must be suffering from overwork. But on the telephone to a friend, King called Hoover senile.
And that was his partner too? Oh, yeah. I talk different to my best friend than I talk to my coworkers. With my best friend, I can call her and say, bitch, this ugly ass hoe, da, 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 da. They got the phone call of him talking to his best friend about, you know, he said, man, oh, ugly ass, duck ass, bitch ass boy, bitch ass little boy, pussy ass hoe. Nigga want to try to fuck over me, send some shit to my wife. That nigga old and senile. Hoover heard that and say, man, pump up the volume on this nigga. Get him up out of here. That nigga Hoover say, I'm about to drop a dime on this nigga. Let me go find it. That nigga Hoover say, I don't like that shit. I'm about to drop a dime on this nigga. Hell no. Hell no. Hold on. Let me see. Look. My nigga Hoover heard that shit. Heard my boy talking crazy like that. And he said, oh yeah, we about to get him up out of here. Got to get him up out of here. He got to go. He got to go. He playing on my top. He on the phone with his little partner talking crazy about me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he got to go. Let me see. Can I find it? There you go. Hold on. I think I found it. Hey, this was my boy Hoover.
This is Kane from Menace to Society.
Trouble was right there on that corner, staring right at us.
Hey, look, peep my boy.
Hard too, they slang it real good.
After he heard the tape.
Might have to drop a dime on them niggas.
Hoover said I might have to drop a dime on them niggas. Them niggas tripping now. Fuck all that. Look.
Might have to drop a dime on them niggas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Do.
I don't like that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that shit.
Hoover said, that nigga said, what? Nigga, they say you see now. He said, oh, all right.
I don't like that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know?
He said what he said. That's the perk. You know what I'm saying? He said what he said. Okay? Now let's finish this out so I can get up off of here.
And when the FBI monitors put that in their logs, Hoover went public again in a barely coded speech in Chicago.
When man places himself above the law, he aids the communists' relentless effort
This the clapback. This the clapback.
to destroy the ideals of our civilization. The man who has no objective values by which he judges his actions, who allows his passions to run wild, unchecked by a moral standard of what is right, that man is surely risking the loss of his immortal soul.
What Hoover's agents did next verged on the criminal. Assistant Director Sullivan took his favorite tapes to the FBI's audio labs, where senior technician John Matter transferred the most incriminating parts to a single reel. The third agent, Lish Whitson, flew with the tape to Miami Beach and posted it from there to the King family home in Atlanta, together with an anonymous letter.
That's when he sent the tape to Coretta, girl. That's when Coretta got the tapes.
FBI agents in Atlanta listened in to make sure the package had arrived safely.
Martin called and said, better come over. I want you to hear something that Mr. Hoover has sent us. And so I went over the next day and we sat down and listened to the tape. And we never listened to all of it because it became boring. But about 90% of it was inaudible. It was clear evidence of the extreme desperation.
Cap, you think them people gonna send a tape to this man's wife and 90% was inaudible, meaning they can't hear nothing? This the FBI we talking about. Come on now, because see, niggas be lying for their friend. And I get it, that's your little partner. I lie for my friend too. I lie for my friend too and say, oh, it wasn't really all of that. But we got to call a spade. Now, come on now, Cap. You telling me the FBI got actual audio of this nigga and sent it to his wife, and it wasn't even all of that. 90% was inaudible. Joseph Lowry, go lay down. That was your friend. Stop it. I'm a lie for my friend too. I'm a lie for my friend. Yeah, you damn right. Let me get up there and say, nah, it wasn't all of that. They just tripping, putting 20 on 10. But in my heart, in my mind, I know I'm lying. Stop it. Come on, Mr. Joseph Lowry. That was your little partner. You saving face. I get it. But don't do that now. Don't do it. This the FBI. This ain't no bitch. This the FBI. Stop it. Stop it. You think the FBI gonna send... Come on now. Stop. They listen in to make sure the shit arrived through the doggone package. Mr. Lowry, please. Please, Mr. Lowry. Now you're doing the move. Now you must think we crazy. And that's all right. I get it. I'm a lie for my people too. But don't do that now. Don't do that.
Of Mr. Hoover to destroy Martin. And Martin didn't tell me over the phone that there was a note accompanied that suggested he ought to take his own life.
Years later, a handwritten copy of that note was found in William Sullivan's desk at the FBI. Here is part of it.
King, look into your heart. You are no clergyman, and you know it. Like all frauds, your end is approaching. Lend your ear to the enclosure to your hideous abnormalities.
Why is this important? Why is this important? It's bigger than a hate mail or hate message. Them people know who Martin is. Martin know who Martin is. The masses didn't know who Martin was. We thought he was this great preacher man from Atlanta, Georgia, who was just a great time. Them people know who he is. That's why they say, you ain't no preacher.
There is only one thing left for you to do, and you know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do it. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation.
When we read that, We were furious with Mr. Hoover. We had prayer.
Watch his partner.
And then we laughed at him. How ignorant, how
watch his partner.
Unaware they were of the depth of our commitment to the struggle. To think that kind of gossip and slander would drive Dr. King to take his own life.
Gossip?
It seems highly unlikely that Hoover ever told the president about this last-ditch effort to dispose of Dr. King. In any case, nothing as outrageous was ever tried again. But the bugging continued all through the Johnson years until the day King was murdered in 1968.
The FBI at the time was an institution, was out of control. It was a lawless institution from its own point of view even. And it was directed by a man who I think was truly demented.
The existence of the King surveillance tapes became public knowledge 3 years after Hoover's death in 1972. The court ruled their content be sealed until the year 2027. The existence
2027, we're going to go over the tapes. We're going to review the tapes. 2027, we got to get the tapes. I'm telling y'all now. Meet me on Rumble in 2027. A live review of the tapes. They say Mike swinging off of ceiling fans and all type of stuff. Meet me in 2027 on Rumble or whatever platform is popping at the time that's going to let us go through the tapes. We got to do a live reaction to the tapes in 2027, okay? Meet me there. No, beat me there. Don't meet me there, okay? Beat me there. Don't meet me there. Got to be there to do a live reaction to the tapes, okay? 2027. That's 3 years from now. Technically 2 and some change because we almost through with 2024. We halfway through. So beat me there. Don't meet me there. Gonna do a live show. We got to see what was going on. We got to see what was really happening down there fucking with Martin in these tapes.
The existence of the Lyndon Johnson tapes was a well-kept secret until 5 years ago. Then the first batch of altogether 600 hours of calls were released uncensored by his heirs. Johnson seems not to have cared whether publication would add luster to his reputation or damage it. But with only a quarter of the...
That's enough. Them crackers dead anyway. We don't care. Listen, why is this important? Everybody was getting played. Everybody. You had Lyndon B. Johnson acting like he was friends with Mike, but he really wasn't friends with Mike. But he was using Mike for political, economic, and social gain. That's all the things we lost during desegregation, right? But we lost politically, economically, socially. We lost our money. We lost our money. We lost our money. We lost our identity. And we also lost socially. Wait, socially, economically. And we lost politically, obviously. But he was playing both sides of the field because his BFF was J. Edgar Hoover, who could not stand Mike, who wanted him gone. Okay? Let me say this before I get up out of here. Listen, the tapes, listen, I can't wait to play the tapes. Lord, if you say the same and I'm here, knock on wood. You say the same and I'm here the most high, I'm going to do a live review of the tapes. I got to see what was going on. I got to see that. I got to see what was going on. Let me read some of these super chats. Hey, Yula, I think I read yours, but I'll read it again. I wonder why they don't show the black people who were against voting during that era. Exactly. Because there were a lot of black people who were just like, we don't need to do all of that. But you got to catch them documentaries. We might go over one over here. Thank you, Arthur Empress, for the super sticker. Thank you to Black Tony Starks for the super chat. Walks in super late, like the video on my way in, quietly slides into one of the open, creaky, loud as fuck church pews at the very back. Oh, thank you so much. As long as you like the video, it's all right. Thank you, son, for the super chat. Hoover was a Diego, the beginning of the LGBTQ agenda. I have to research that. Thank you, son, for the super chat. MLK mother told him to knock it off with the German girl and marry Coretta. I heard that. His mom was an activist. Belafonte, Portier, Davis, and all wanted clears. I heard about that. I'm gonna have to do the research on that. I heard about that. Everybody know he loved him a good clear woman. Everybody knew that. Thank you, son, for the super chat. Arthur Empress, thank you for the super chat. And F his raggedy mama that raised him. You damn right. When I exposed everybody, the more got to get exposed too. Shout out to everybody who sent me a super chat. Shout out to all the members. Shout out to everybody in the building.
I make it right. I make it right. I make it right on them hoes. I make it right. I make it right. I make it right on them hoes.
I ain't gonna hold y'all up too much longer. I appreciate y'all. We've been on here 2 hours almost. Y'all got 6 hours out this day to me. Y'all got 6 hours out of the day. Let me get off of here. I done said enough. 6 hours y'all done got out of me. 6. Bye. I don't even want to talk about it. Bye. I'ma see y'all later. I'm about to Joe y'all up out of here. Bye. That's it.
Can you hear me now? Oh, let's go. It's your boy Big Chew, the voice of the beat. You know what I won't blaze up. Come on, blaze up.
It's a beat for me.
Wow, 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 for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Drop it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Do it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Come on, baby, we live. For your boy. For your boy. Also for your boy. Fix it for your boy. Drop it for your, wow, 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 lift it up.
Mr. Carroll, how you give the voodoo doll time to talk? I don't get no fucking time to talk.
Who the voodoo doll is?
The nigga you just had